What's up, boys? Yeah, sorry, I needed a few extra minutes to sit here and wake up. We were up, bro. Tobo, Dazer, Shay, Fired Up, Shaq, Cams, all of the production team. I'm probably missing a bunch of people. We're just in my room. We were just in my room hanging out until 6 a.m. So I'm tired. Max, was this tier the most splits ever? No, there was slightly more splits last tier, but there was a heroic week. But this tier, there was like 95% as many splits as we did last tier, but Mythic was just out at the same time. So it sure felt like it. Max, so many gamers like Ben and Avade would come back if splits and buckets were gone. Yeah, dude, we'd be able to get like 3 of our all-time best players to return instantly if they removed that shit. We're playing with our hands tied behind our back. Max, removing splits would honestly make the race world first maybe more competitive too. In theory it could, because like you wouldn't need as much like, you know, crazy shit set up to even kind of be able to compete. So like it makes you think that, but that's not really true. I mean, you could put every guild with the same amount of gear, 0 splits in the raid at the same time, and the raid turns out exactly the same. The player skill difference is like absolutely astronomical. Even from like world 1 and 2 to like world 10 is like just a completely different thing. Even like honestly even lower than that. Where Cam? All right, I'm here. 1 second. Give me a break. I probably look like shit. We were up till 6 a.m. I didn't really drink a lot. Some people definitely did, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, man. Feeling happy. Wish we were able to like do the last boss, but like a big. I mean, actually, I don't know. It's weird. This is one of those bosses where I feel like we're gonna have a lot more fun on this boss than everyone else. Like we had so much fun yesterday, but this is a boss where if you just like copy the strat going in, it's just not gonna be that fun. But like progressing a boss without a dungeon journal was like just insanely. We had so much fun. Is this the first time Liquid has won 2 races in a row? No. That's what Scripe said. He wishes there wasn't any dungeon journal for Mythic. Dude, that's my take. We've been saying for a while that, man, how cool would it be if we progressed a boss without a dungeon journal? And that's exactly what we did. That boss did not tell you, that dungeon journal did not tell you how that boss was going to work at all. The ads, nothing. You just had to figure all of it out. And that was extremely fun. Maybe my theory after sleeping on it is I think they they intentionally made the boss less difficult because the difficulty was supposed to be in the you don't know how this boss works and you have to figure it out. But I just didn't think they realized how good we are at that. There needs to also be like just as difficult kind of thing. Max, was this one of the first races that you felt solidly behind and then overtook Echo to win? I don't really think we were ever behind. Like the only scenario you could say we were behind was that we didn't kill Sprocketmonger in the first reset and Echo did. But I mean, we just, they had 8 more hours in their reset to play the game than we did. We had 5 hours of maintenance and a 3-hour power outage. If we had even a couple more hours, Sprocketmonger dies week 1, right? I don't think that happened. We felt like we were gonna win the whole time. And when we woke up yesterday, and they didn't kill, that's why I didn't like pop off when we killed, because I already knew we were gonna win. Like when we woke up and they didn't kill Muggsy, we were like, okay, we win, right? Like it's still exciting, but then like the boss wasn't hard enough to like pop off about. It's like just surprising there wasn't something else, you know? Max, do you think the community is mad because the expectations were high because of the secret phase? The community is mad all the time, no matter what. If the race is too hard, then they're making the game for the 0.1% and no one else can do this stuff. And if the race is too easy, they didn't get the viewer experience they want. But if you like look into it deeper, it's just the people whose team didn't win, they feel cheated because they're like, you know, the boss was too easy, so our team couldn't win. Or if the other team would have lost, it's like those people are mad. Like someone's always just mad, you know? I mean, like think about it. This is the way I think about it. I think the reason why people are mad is this. Like the Race World First is like a sporting event. And even the most hyped sporting events, like in America, it's the Super Bowl. Bro, people don't like glaze the Super Bowl if it's a bad game. You know, like if someone's up by 50 at halftime, people are just tweeting about how not fun the game is, you know, even though they're all watching it. Really, I think what Race World First viewers sign up for is they want to see Echo and Liquid pulling a boss at the same time that's really hard and we're both wiping on low percentages. That's what people want. That's when they're the most excited. And then if it could be any better, they would want a third team involved or more, right? And that didn't happen really at this raid. So, I mean, being mad kind of makes sense, I guess, because they didn't get their thing. I mean, it seemed a little bit more competitive than normal because of the like how the end of the first week ended up, right? Like the EU fans and players were feeling themselves. We're like, I mean, I saw some clips. They were like, we are solidly in the lead. I'm just like, okay. Yes, of course. What is it? Gingy was talking mad shit at the end of the first week, saying they were so far ahead. I mean, I kind of get that as a competitor because you want to feel confident. Like, bro, when you feel like you're ahead of the other team, it gives you so much confidence, man. Like, when we woke up yesterday and they didn't kill Muggsy, which blew my mind, I was like, holy shit, bro, we played like absolute beast yesterday, and it was just, we just woke up with the most confidence in the world, you know? You can't make that shit up. It's a real thing. So whenever EU like can find a way to get ahead, you know, they're used to what that feels like. They get ahead. Because like, okay, let me give you guys a little insight into this. Figuring out a boss on your own and like paving the way is actually fun. That's what all of us live to do. Not just me, not just the like analysts, but like every player. That's what you live. You do this for that reason. You make 15 characters for 6 months and farm to do that. You don't do that to get to a boss late and just copy what someone else did. That is half as fun, right? Turns out when you're having fun, you're playing good. So when you're in the lead and you're like on a boss, usually you play really well because you're doing the thing that's more fun, you know? And that contributes to you playing better. So EU's used to like, oh, they finally get a lead because like last year they never did that one time. It's been rare actually in recent raids that happens. So like when it happens, they usually latch onto it. They start having fun and they start playing super insane. I know that feeling of like being behind and then getting back ahead again. It's so real. It's such a real feeling because you just start having fun again. Like, dude, I bet the fun difference between us and them on the last boss is insane. And I bet if they got to that, like obviously it was underwhelming and we weren't super hyped when it died. But we had so much fun yesterday, and I bet they had almost none. Not because they knew they lost, but because like that boss just isn't fun when you're not figuring it out. It's kind of built to be fun when you figure it out, but like because of the era of streaming, only one team really gets to be able to do it. Which it was really fun to do that. Like honestly, dude, I'm begging them to make bosses without dungeon journals again, because like that was seriously fun. If you watched yesterday and listened to comms all day, bro, we were on a fucking heater, dude. It was so fun. Some EU whale / oil baron needs to host Echo in the States for 6 months on US servers. What would that have done? Max, how do you keep morale during power outage and unexpected server downtime? I mean, okay, so like what can you do? I guess would be the question. Like, here's what maybe you want to do. Guys, we're getting fucked. This is so bad. Other guilds are going to gain relatively more time than us. We're unable to progress. We're getting fucked by things that are outside of our control. You know, okay. You know, so what? Like, you just, like, what is it, like, what is the fucking point of getting mad about that? Like, everyone's human and you probably will a little bit, but, like, imagine me, the leader of the guild, is just, like, having a mentee be about things that are out of our control. Everyone's just going to play like shit, and they're going to be, like, stressed out, and they're not going to be confident, and then we play bad. And then that's even worse, right? So you just kind of... It's not like fake it till you make it. You have to... Because, like, for me, I can't fake anything. Like, if I'm upset, I'm going to be upset. Like, I can't fake being happy, even if it's good for us. Like, I just wear my emotions on my sleeve, I guess. You have to, like, program your brain to just not get tilted, kind of. I don't know. It's weird. Max, sorry if this has been answered, but was there any discussion about not streaming yesterday when you logged on to Prague Galley, seeing that Echo hadn't killed Muggsy? No. I mean, as soon as... I mean, like, I expected them to, like, kill Muggsy pretty early and then, like, get some good Gallywix info we could have taken. But then when we woke up and saw they didn't kill it, I mean, we just knew we won. So there wasn't really any reason to do that. Are you happy for the early time off? What does that mean? I mean, this is not like a short race. This was like a historically long, like, I think this is, I mean, since simultaneous releases, this is, I think, maybe close to the average 12 now. The average used to be 10 days. But like 12-day race, even with splits included, is still a long raid. It's not like a short raid. Max, last night during your interview, you said you weren't worried about them killing it overnight since they didn't start prog on Galley yet. Since it seems they killed it overnight from the info they got from you guys, do you still think you could have lost overnight if you didn't kill it? So let me give you a little bit more like clarity into what I said. So they asked me like, would you have been afraid to go to sleep? So if we were ever deciding to go to sleep, that meant that we played really, really well for 14 to 15 hours. We felt like we needed to be less tired to be able to kill it, so we needed to sleep to like wake up and kill it, basically. Because like when bosses are hard enough, there's a certain amount of sleep. Like if you're just fatigued, you just like can't progress the boss, really. You're just wasting your time. This boss wasn't hard enough to do that, so we would have really never slept on a boss that was this easy. But like, yeah, I mean, so if we would have gone to sleep too, we wouldn't have seen the end of the fight. But yeah, had we not streamed the end of the encounter and like shown the entire boss for them, and we felt like at the end of the night that, you know, we played really well. Like basically, we've known this has been true for the last couple raids. If we have a good day, meaning we're feeling productive, we're playing well, people are like we're like figuring out the fights at a good pace, if our atmosphere is good, we know what that means. If we do that, we're going to go to bed ahead and wake up ahead. They're not going to make up that time overnight. It hasn't been true for years. So if that was the case on this boss, we could have streamed, or we could have gone to bed and they wouldn't have killed it. But obviously, like this specific boss, they would have killed it because we like showed everything. But if we didn't, like if we, for example, let's say your initial question, or I think it was another chatter, was like, would you have gone dark all day yesterday? Let's say we do that. I don't think they would have killed the boss, and I mean they would have taken probably longer than we did. Right? That's a boss where you just kind of see how most of the progression on that boss was just seeing what the fuck the boss was doing in the first place and then creating a strategy to deal with it. That took a lot of time, you know? Took us like 5 to 10 pulls to come up with the perfect strat just to rotate around in a circle at the beginning of the boss, which you guys saw get probably one-shot by Echo because they just saw how to do it, right? So, like, just a little bit more nuance in that answer. I think you could hear that answer and not really know what I was saying and just be like, we weren't afraid to go to sleep because they wouldn't have killed it. And someone be like, yo, bro, well, they did kill it. Well, like, yeah, because, you know, all the stuff I just said. How many Vantus were left for Galley? We Vantused every player. We didn't Vantus Mugsy at all. You heard us probably talking about that on stream yesterday. That was just trying to bait Echo. We knew that they were struggling on Mugsy, so we tried to have a conversation in Discord about Vantusing a bunch of people on Mugsy, so that, like, spread around in Twitch chats, which it did. And then the hope was that it would eventually get back to Echo, and they're like, oh, no wonder they killed it so fast. They Vantus. And then they Vantus some players, and then that hurts them. Which actually, in hindsight, it's funny. It wouldn't have hurt them because Mugsy is the better Vantus rune, certainly. Like, it'll save you more time on that boss than Vantusing Gallywix will save you on Gallywix. Unfortunately, Echo's too smart for that. They wouldn't have gotten baited by that. But a lot of people in chat did. Method Vantused Mugsy? Well, Method Vantused Mugsy not because we baited them, but because they like woke up and saw how easy Gallywix was and they didn't have Mugsy dead yet. I mean, like if you were still on Mugsy and you see Gallywix, the solution is you Vantus Mugsy before you even think about it, because Vantus on Mugsy helps you kill the boss and Vantus on Gallywix does it, right? Can we take a moment to appreciate just how good the OnAllFours bit was? Yeah, it is an amazing bit because like it was also, like, believable by people. Like, not even people in Twitch chat just got baited by the Worgen thing, bro. A fucking Method member messaged Shay, who's in our guild and was in Method last year, and they were like, is the Worgen thing legit, question mark, when they woke up. So, like, I mean, it was, like, peak funny. On Styx, we had our Prot Warrior go Worgen. He taunted the trash ball every single time. But one exploit we found was that if you went Worgen and used their racial ability on all fours, the speed increase, you can use it right before getting in the ball, and the ball goes a little faster, and it does more damage when it hits the boss. But unfortunately, we did that with our comms open. Max, how does the difficulty of Mugsy compare to Court? Mugsy's really hard. I don't know. I mean, Silken Court is just such a different fight. Like progressing Mugsy felt like progressing a really hard Mythic boss. Progressing Silken Court felt like you were doing something really hard from a different video game. Like, not really, but like kinda, you know? Like, it was just like so unique. But yeah, I don't know. it feels like it was just, it's really hard, dude. Like difficulty of bosses is purely a vibe thing. Pulls don't mean anything in most cases. They both seem hard. I don't know, but it also like just happened. Have fun with an 800 pull end boss next tier. Yep, I already know, bro. Next tier's end boss is gonna be so fucking hard. It's gonna be insane. How much sooner do you think you would have killed Muggsy if not for the weird bugs? Hours before, bro. We were playing so well. It was like pull 120 or something, and we had 4 pulls in a row where we killed the goon cages in the last phase with everyone alive, and the mines bugged 4 pulls in a row, and then we killed it like 3 hours later. Money back guarantee. One or multiple of those pulls was a kill purely due to bugs. Dude, the bugs were driving me crazy. It is funny how fast I switched my tune though, bro. Let me tell you what I put in the fucking. I was like talking to Blizzard, bro. I was hard tilted because of these bugs. It was so frustrating. Stone Legion General's level frustrating. Here we go. Mine soak spawning on a pixel of a new spawn as a new mine is extremely frustrating. It's a wipe every time, impossible to see. And then next one. 3 out of 4 last phase pulls are wiped trying to pop a CCMU mine that won't pop. Next message. Please fix this. Like, I already know they see this, but I'm just like, guys, what are we doing here? And then, like, we killed it just after that. And I said, I have changed my mind. I will be immeasurably tilted if you fix these bugs now. This is also kind of a contradiction of what I said on the Team Liquid interview, because they were like, do you think they should fix these bugs? And I'm like, you know, honestly, like, I feel like they shouldn't, but they probably should, because, like, you just probably shouldn't have bugs in your game that are that bad. But I mean, we did have to overcome these bugs, and we would get totally fucked if no other team did, and only we got screwed by this, right? So I'm kind of glad they didn't do it, but also not having any bugs would be sweet. Max, was there a point in Galley when you realized there was no secret phase? Okay, I feel like people are vastly misunderstanding the secret phase thing. I think because most secret phases are like, you get the boss to 10% and then it just like does something new that's not in the journal. The whole fight is a secret phase. The entire encounter. It's all, we knew nothing about it, not in the dungeon journal. You have to figure it out as you go the whole fucking time. That's it. Which, by the way, is infinitely fucking cooler than just having some shitty phase at the end of a boss, which, by the way, these phases are usually really easy. They're not hard. It's just like, hey, here's this thing you didn't know about. Bro, they did it for the whole fight. But maybe that's the theory, though. Maybe that's why the fight was easier. Most secret phases are easy. They're not the hardest part of the boss. It's like a victory lap, basically, which is also why I think secret phases are overhyped. But, like, the back half of the fight was a secret phase, basically, and it was that means half the fight was easy, you know? I'm surprised Echo doesn't just move to the US for the race. See, people keep saying that, but I don't understand why they would do that. Like, why would, like, looking at the way this race and last race turned out, why, and this is not BM, by the way. This is just me trying to understand what you're saying, right? Like, why would you re-roll an NA and lose your EU characters and go to a region where the people there are rooting for the other team more than you, so you're less likely to get helpers, just to still lose? You know what I mean? Like, the NA advantage had literally no reason why we won any race we've won so far, by the way, but certainly not this one or the last one. So, like, what are you talking about? Why would you do that? That's such an insane commit. Max, I know most races last 10 to 12 days. What's your actual limit for how long you're willing to go? I don't know. I guess I'll go forever. There's an unknown amount of time I'd be willing to go and do this. Like, the only time we've ever been able to test that was Sepulcher, and that was just an entirely different set of circumstances. We're at an event for like 30 days, and it was an absolute disaster. There's like 2 hours of packet loss every day, couldn't pull. Power's going out all the time, just like this raid, I guess, in that way. The catering was terrible, raw, uncooked food. We were having to just go get takeout every day. Miserable sleeping situation. It was extremely cold. Like, it was just like legit, like, if you were to say, okay, how much events benefit your performance? Every time we've been at the Liquid facility, it's been a 10 out of 10. Every time we've been at the Complexity facility, it was a 10 out of 10. The Boston facility we were at in Sepulcher is a 1 out of 10. It was the largest reason why we were like, this has to fucking end. It was so bad. Max, would you have made the call to sleep if you were in Echo's shoes on the night you took it down? I mean, they have to sleep, yeah. You're not going to progress an entire boss after 15 like in hindsight you can say that it's the only thing you felt like they could have done to potentially win, but that's totally in hindsight. Like you don't know exactly when the boss is going to die, you don't know how easy it's going to be, and realistically they would have still lost. They would have, you know what I'm saying? Like we didn't lose any time yesterday. We smoked that boss, Gallywix. That was maybe the best we've ever played. No one was beating us on that boss. We were problem solving that boss insane, right? Even if they were like not even tired after 15 hours, if they kept going, they would have lost. And they were already at the end of a 16-hour raid day. They had no choice. They had to sleep. They had to sleep, hope we gave them a bunch of information, wake up, have a great raid day, and then kill it while we sleep. That was their only chance. People who didn't watch the race are going to look at Method's pull count and think they're closer to you guys than reality. Yeah, I mean, also, this is no flame to Echo, but that's, or to Method, but like that's why people every tier are like, bro, I hope this is the race where there's a 3-horse race, you know? I hope Method's finally at the level. And I know that's like wishful thinking, but like, and I really don't mean this. I hope no one takes this bad, bro. This is not Flame and Method. I think Method's a great guild. They're like doing their thing, but like they're no closer to world first than they were last year. Realistically, probably even the tier before, right? Like clearly, I mean, it's hard to compare them to us because we start at like a different time and like there's different sleep times and there's a different flow of information, but you can directly compare them to Echo. And Echo has just been the exact same tier above them that they've been for years with no change or difference, right? Max, do you think Galley was lacking as an end boss? Like for us, it wasn't lacking in strategy because like that's basically what the whole fight was, but in difficulty, oh yeah. Like bro, let's look at the last phase of this fight. Let me give you an example of like where the fight just isn't punishing enough. This is when we're on the fight? Okay. So P1 honestly is like a pretty good phase for an end boss. Right? Like they made these technicians giga technicians with a lot more HP. The way you have to deal with this with like the permanent mine mechanic, and if you die to any mechanic, basically you just kill the whole raid. Bro, if fire mages didn't exist, that would have wiped you a lot. You know, if I guess the rest of the boss was trying to kill you a lot. These soaks are pretty easy. The movement, this suppression, one thing about the fight that just seems like, it almost seems like a heroic mechanic. You guys know in heroic, like this animation isn't really accurate, and like you need to actually be way farther than this to not basically get one shot. Bro, in Mythic, the fall off damage is like, it stops at the actual, at the thing, you know? It's like no damage. These fire circles don't kill you if you get hit. It's just like normal level of end boss punishment wasn't there. Couple soothes here, no big deal. Couple soaks. You know, pretty easy to split this soak. We ended up with this strat. There's like a bunch of different fun, creative ways to like do this healing absorb, which I found pretty fun to think about. The bomb mechanic was really cool. The charging of the bombs was really cool. Like, honestly, this phase is just really cool. This is just a really cool, honestly, like really good P1. This is a really well-made P1. Not talking about difficulty, just design. Like, really cool. But it's just not very punishing. Like, it just didn't really try to kill you. I don't know. Like, everything was really... Like, dude, is this as many blazes as you got on Heroic? Isn't it the same thing? So how this blaze work is it's basically just an exact perfect, like... it's northeast, southwest, or northeast, southwest, and then also the inner cardinals, and then I think there's like an extra 2 lines, and then it just breaks it up randomly between 4 people. Really cool mechanic. But on Heroic... This is a Mythic boss. On Heroic, it does this. Why does it not do... double the amount of this? Okay, maybe it's just P1. Okay, cool. Maybe the thing about this fight is most of it's a secret phase. I mean, honestly, I think the reason the boss ended up like this is just because this is the first time they've tried to create an entire boss that wasn't in the dungeon journal, and they were just erring on the side of caution after sticks or something. That's like the only thing that makes sense. Because you can't even say it's because, oh, they didn't test it. They don't test any end bosses and they don't look like this, right? It's probably just they just put too much emphasis on the fact that it was like a secret phase or whatever. Okay, so now you're like getting into P2. They made it so when you dunk these things over here, you have to like be in the air. You have to do it with like a grip or like another way. Okay, that was like a interesting thought. All right, P2. The first time we see this, I'm like, yo, they cooked. You know? I'm thinking World in Flames. The barrage hits, there's 3 zones. The barrage hits the middle. The barrage hits the end. And then it would go like, and it would be faster. And it would alternate. And you had to like do a dance between the lightning and in front of the boss, and like, you know, like something like that. This phase could have been really hard. It looks fucking sick, dude. Holy shit, it looks sick. It's just not very punishing, right? It's like really easy to do. These things have to be kicked. Their second cast is unkickable, and then it will one-shot the person. I don't know, you just kill them. And then now this is like the phase that is completely, none of this stuff is in the dungeon journal. Everything that happens here. You split the raid up in half. But like how I did this was this, right? So I just split up our raid. You only needed 5 people to soak this, right? So I had, you know, all the people with the bomb debuff over here never getting hit by anything, even though they're mages and probably could have soaked all of it, but just for the sake of consistent progression, I had a nice even spread. But the thing is, spreading out this, these people for this mechanic naturally spread them out for everything. Frontal in the last quadrant was the exact same thing, right? Where you naturally are for your spreads is also naturally where you want to be spread for Blaze. It's how you want to be spread for the spread circles coming out, you know? Right? We got the soaks, right? Like, it's just really easy to, Batter Blast. Bro, we were thinking about doing some crazy weak aura for this. We were like, dude, what's the potential best, like, looking thing to spread? You know, like, one we came up with was, like, you know, you could just have everyone play in the front, send them all to the back, because you can melee from, like, the whole platform. You can have this whole playable space in this quadrant. None of this mattered. You could just kind of put them anywhere, really, and play the game, you know? Yeah, bro. It was just really simple. But, like, let's look at what they could have done. Let me show you what, like, a mythic version of this boss could have been. So, number one, you don't have a lot of actual space in this fight, okay? Raid plan. So, they do in P2, let's not even talk about P3. In P2, they just take away half your room, right? Okay, so you now only have this part of the room to play in. So the boss, when it does suppression, isn't even some shit. Like the boss, you keep the boss here. The boss's suppression is like maybe this wide? Maybe that? So like melee can just easily leave the boss and go here. Range, don't have to think at all, and they're just super far away. Bro, so let's just talk about the suppression mechanic. What is suppression? This thing. So it's right here. So the boss does this like little circle thing right now. What it does is the big circle goes off. That's going to like kill you in 4 seconds if you're in that animation. And then suppression happens, which just drops fire circles on most people in the raid. And that will basically kill you if you get hit. But you just kind of move away from it, you know? They could have made that crazy. A normal mythic end boss? Bro, that thing's this big or something, or way bigger. So you have to do something like in 2 quadrants where maybe you actually want to play it in the corner so you have like more playable space. And when you only have 1 quadrant, you know, you would have to tank it like in the corner and then have barely any room. And to get to that spot, you'd have to cross over multiple lightning lines. And it's like really difficult movement and it's really punishing. Nope, it's fucking this big. You know what I mean? It's just easy. It's like a heroic mechanic. Another mechanic, the soak. They added a soak mechanic in this fight. So it happened right before this. It only needs to be soaked by 5 people, and then there's a healing absorb. But it only happens like 6 or 7 times the entire fight from 50 to 0. Bro, you know what you could have done? You know, and it wouldn't have even been unfair. You could have had the boss here, and you would have needed a group of 5 people soaking. What's an easier way to notate this? Right? You would have had a group of 5 people basically soaking here, 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 and here. And the boss is machine gunning 4 of these soaks in 10 seconds. In 10 seconds, and you have to be naturally spread from each other and within your own group in a 10-second window to satisfy this mechanic or you wipe. That's not even like an egregious end boss mechanic. That sounds like it's playable. See you, buddy. Like that's a thing. That's just not real. The bomb mechanic is kind of interesting, right? It's like Fire Act kind of, where you like if you have a seed you can't die, but they basically just make 4 people the entire fight be unable to die. But the thing is the fight wasn't trying to kill you. And even if you could, mages are unkillable. They have more defensives than every class. They have a cheat death, and they can just blink over. Oh, there's a mechanic on me, blink. And then no mechanics happen again for 15 seconds, you know? Like, they're not going to die. Look, this looks difficult, but why is there a heroic amount of blazes? Why is there... Look at this spread. Okay. Bro, you could put this on everyone in the raid, and it would have added, like, 10 pulls to the boss at most. Ranger, like, barely moving. The spread circles. I mean, honestly, this was probably fine. Like, it was pretty punishing in the last phase. But, like, okay, so then you do all this, right? Okay, cool. So you have double the amount of room to deal with it. We've seen P2. This is P2. All right, cool. Let's go to the other secret phase of this fight. There's 2 phases of this fight that we've never seen. All right, cool. So now they've made us destroy this last coil. All right, so we're forced to now go to the single side of the room. All right, everybody get there. By the way, you don't have to be there right away. This thing doesn't do damage for 8 seconds. THD doesn't even have to set himself on fire and run over here real fast. He could just walk natty and he's here. Now, you just do everything you just did, but you just do it in a smaller space, but nothing's punishing enough to have that matter. The second intermission, oh, there's 5 prongs here. I don't know if a lot of people notice that instead of 3. That's like their way of cooking this up. There's an extra kick ad that has to die. They say DKs have a raid buff, but they just make every ad on this boss drop directly on top of the boss for free cleave. I mean, second pull ever in P3, and we just kill it. First time seeing it, you know? Crazy. Like, the fight looked cool. It had a lot of cool elements. You know what actually my theory is? Do you guys know when Blizzard... Do you know when Blizzard creates raid bosses? They don't create mythic bosses and then make them heroic and normal. They don't create normal bosses and make them heroic and mythic. They create heroic bosses. When they make a boss initially, they create a heroic encounter, what's intended to be heroic, and then they buff it up for mythic and they nerf it for normal. That is the way they design fights. But because they... because this fight was like not in heroic, it's almost like it makes sense why it kind of feels like a little bit harder heroic fight, because it was something that was incepted and then not buffed to a mythic level. So it never went through the process of being buffed to mythic. It was created for mythic, which is something they do intentionally try to not do. I'm kind of just throwing shit against the wall here, but like I'm just trying to think how something like this happened. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish this boss was harder so we could have won by way more, right? But I will say this boss will be a lot like Lihivam though. The boss in Sepulcher. Here's what I mean by that. When most people think of Lihivam, they don't really think of it at all. It's just this fight that exists, and you have this strat for it, and it's like kind of easy to understand. But like, this fight gives you so much creativity. I actually talked about this with Dash on the broadcast yesterday, and you have to choose which one of these ads you kill, which one of these prototypes you kill. Blizzard didn't even intend for you to be able to kill 2 in the same set like we are right here. We literally just did that, and we were like, we didn't think that was possible, and then they were going to talk about nerfing it, and then they were like, okay, well, you guys are already doing it, so we can't nerf it, right? So we had to do this. There was so much creativity. We did so many different, like, strategies on this fight, and that was so fun to figure out. We came up with, like, rooting these ads away to, like, make it more feasible, and all that problem solving was fun for all of us. Do you know what Dash was talking about? He was like, yeah, Lihivam wasn't fun for me because it was just this boss where we just did these things and it was easy, and I just had to go root this ad the whole time. So that route that we came up with that was really fun was the source of this person's pain. And that's just a perfect example of Gallywix, right? Like, Gallywix, we had a ton of fun on this fight. It wasn't a letdown for us. But anyone who lives to strategize bosses, like Echo certainly does, you're going to... I mean, obviously we wish it was harder, but we still, like, had a good time, even outside of winning, because we got to do the fun thing. Anyone that was in that position would have had fun doing the fun thing on this boss. They were robbed of it. This boss is not fun, just like Lihivam, when you just know what to do going in, you know? It's just not challenging enough. Just so many things could have been so much more punishing. They could have increased the damage on so many things. You could have... Here, you know what is true? This is true. You could have 3, 4, or 5 healed this boss. An end boss. And probably it would have been relatively the same difficulty. Isn't that insane? I don't know if that's ever been true, ever. Like, not even one time has that been true of an end boss. Is this the easiest mythic boss so far? Yeah, I think so. Like, the only thing you could even kind of compare this to is, like, I think for us it was close to Sarkareth. Because, like, Sarkareth is kind of the same. Like, dude, if we fully killed Sarkareth before Echo started it, I bet they would have also done it in half the pulls in, like, sub 100 if they didn't have to do their own strategies. Because, like, remember Sarkareth was, like, we went live and, like, showed the boss was killable and then it died, and then, you know what I mean? Like, but if it had been the same, I'm pretty sure they would have also killed Sarkareth in sub 100. So this, I would say, is more closely related to Sark. But Emerald Nightmare is the other thing people are talking about. I think that's a little different for one reason. I think this boss is, like, easier than Xavius in a way. So, and what I mean by that is Xavius is supposed to be easy. Like, I'm saying, like, it's almost embarrassing that this boss was this easy. Like, people forget that Mogashan Vaults, High Mall, Emerald Nightmare, the first raids of those expansions were supposed to be easy intro raids. They were not supposed to be Nighthold. They were not supposed to be Oldir. They were not supposed to be Nerebar Palace. where they now make first raids as just regular ass raids. They're not intro raids, they're just full raids. Emerald Nightmare was not supposed to be hard intentionally, right? So I still even feel like a lot of people give Xavius a lot of shit. I'm not really even sure why, because it was probably still too easy, but it was closer to what it was trying to be than this boss. Does that make sense? Like, Xavius was closer to the intended difficulty than this. So, like, this is definitely... I would say this is very similar to Sarkareth, though. Like, I'd be willing to wager that if we just fully progressed Sarkareth with no information, we would have probably killed it in around the same time it took us to kill Gallywix. Like, we progressed Gallywix. We killed Gallywix in 14 hours of progression, of, like, fully figuring it out. I think Sarkareth is close to that. And I think in both of those bosses' cases, Echo would have done it in about half the time if they were to have, like, woken up with Sarkareth with the entire strat from pull 1. Even then, though, Sarkareth was trying to kill you more than this boss was. Like, even just healing Sarkareth P1 was harder than healing anything in this fight. Max, first time since vanilla, and it has won the majority of raids in an expansion. Oh. Isn't that just, like, one of those stats that is, like, super niche and specific, though? Because we've won 2 out of 3 raids before and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, like, it has to be specific to, like, an expansion, you know? I mean, I guess people care about that, so that's cool. I don't know. It just doesn't matter to me. That's like someone said that the other day. They were like, Max, did you know this is the first time that Echo has overtook you in a race and then you have come back and won? And I'm like, first of all, that's not even true. I guess that's technically true if you look at it by boss kills, but boss kills are, like, so irrelevant when it comes to going ahead or behind someone, you know? Like, most raids, you wake up behind and you go to sleep ahead. Whether that time in between happens to be a boss kill, just happens to be randomly where every guild is in progression at the time. It has basically no significance whatsoever. Whether you're behind in percentage or a kill has no difference. Does not matter, right? So, and they were just mentioning that, and I'm like, they like it was, like, profound. Like, you finally done this thing, and I'm like, nothing happened. That is the same thing. I think that's coming because they got ahead on Sprocket. I mean, I know that a lot of people don't pay attention to the race, and I mean, I feel like, okay, I know I'm biased because I'm me and we're us, but, like, when we went to bed on Monday, we weren't like, and we didn't kill Sprocketmonger, we weren't super dobby because we know we just got fucked. Like, we would have been dobby if we felt like we played like shit and didn't kill a boss we were supposed to kill. We knew we just got fucked. So, but I understand that, like, someone who's less knowledgeable about the race, like, you see this all the time. There are times in the race where I've actually felt like we've fallen behind, but people don't know that because, like, they just see boss kill and they go crazy, you know? Like, there's just, I mean, we just would have killed Sprocket in week 1 without the power outage. We would have killed Sprocket in week 1 8 more hours in our reset than, like, Echo had, right? It was still, like, not fun, though. Like, you hate, like, there's a level of pride in you where you just don't want that to happen. Like, that's annoying, you know? Especially because of the amount of people that misunderstand it. But this entire race, we never felt like we were getting outplayed or beaten. We knew we were going to win the whole time. We did have a bad day, though. I was really tilted. I thought we played really bad on the day after our reclear. The day where we killed One Arm Bandit and our Sprocket. Like, we could have killed One Arm Bandit, like, so fast. Our strat on that boss was so good. Is this the worst class balance you can remember for a race? Not really. I mean, this seems like pretty normal class balance. I think people often mistake class balance with what the raids require. Like, they just made a raid that required niches for the first time ever. Dots are back for the first time since BFA, so you stack daughters on multiple bosses. That hasn't been true in so long. You basically just played melee cleave for years. They brought back execute. They brought back... Bro, people were, like, having their healers. Every guild had their healers DPS this year. Healer DPS Moonkins, healer Shadow Priest, healer Windwalkers. Just so many funnel. Like, funnel with DH is back in a big way. Actual class stacking. Bro, we haven't seen this level of class stacking since Legion. And Legion didn't have raid buffs. There's 14 raid spots that are basically pre-selected for you before the raid. And there's as much class stacking now as there was in Legion. But that is less to do with class balance than it has to do with what the fights are actually doing for you. Like, Fire Mage is not a super broken raid class. We didn't play 4 Fire Mages in every fight. We played like 1 or 2, right? And then on Muggsy we played 3 because it's the only way you could cleave goons for some reason. And then on this boss we played 4 because they created a boss where you want a pure single target and cleave a bunch of ads that directly spawn on top of the boss. That's exactly what Fire Mage does. You could, like, people are saying Fire Mage is OP, but, like, you could create a boss where you would have ran one Fire Mage. It's not even hard to imagine what that boss would look like either. It's just good at specifically that thing, and they made a boss that just does that thing, you know? Like, basically what I'm saying is people are complaining how broken Fire Mage is because of how many are in the comp. But, like, if they just created a different end boss with the exact same tuning, there would have been one mage and no one's complaining, except for Mythic Plusers, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's more about what the fight is asking of you than the classes itself. No class this tier is more broken than classes are broken in other tiers. It's just about a fight design class balance combo. Max, I'm not sure if this is already answered, but how much damage did the extra spark this week give the raid? I don't know. I have no idea, man. Not very much. Like, no one knew this was going to happen, so we didn't save our sparks. So, like, no one was able to craft a two-hander. Like, our warrior didn't even have a two-hander. Max, do you think the race would be closer if Echo killed Muggsy 6 hours earlier? They probably would have pulled an all-nighter. I mean, you're asking me, Max, would the race have been closer if Echo killed a boss significantly faster than they did? I mean, yeah. Right? But they didn't. Max, thoughts on DKs and what to do to make them wanted? Yeah. If you're a DK and you're mad because you've heard Blizzard for multiple years in interviews say that DK's raid buff is gripping and we always make sure there's like grips in the raid, I mean, how could you not be mad? DK DPS absolutely stinks and nothing needs grips. I mean, they've got to answer for that. Max, do you think a Season 3 loss would be a big blow to Echo's viability, or do you think the following race would retain the same amount of hype? Bro, I'm not in that guild. I have no idea. I'm in Liquid. Max, is this the most mechanically skilled roster of all time? That statement is probably true of every raid's roster. Even your same players get better tier after tier, so the answer to that question is always yes. Has there ever been a 3 raid losing streak from either guild? Yeah, we have. We lost, we lost our first 3, so Old Year, BOD, and Eternal Palace. But if you're wondering, like, how you survive that, I mean, we were just new to the race. Like realistically, looking back, I don't think we even had a chance to win the race. Or we shouldn't have had a chance to win the race for, like, the first 2 or 3 raids, because there's just basically no way you could compete with a guild that's... let's just say they're just as good as you. There's no way you can compete with them if they have 10 years of world first experience and you have 0. You just can't. You know? You would have won in Nathri if you didn't extend. Maybe, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. We did extend because we didn't know what we were doing. We had no idea what we were doing. Right? They didn't take that race seriously. They fucking streamed it, which at the time was unheard of because they thought they had no competition. They didn't take it seriously. That's why they almost lost. In BOD, they tried. And it was very obvious which guild was better. And then we lost 3 raids in a row, I think, from Sanctum to Vault, I think. How do you not lose your... I mean, it sucks to lose, but I don't know. We felt like we could have won all those races. In Sanctum, that was, I mean, probably the closest raid ever. Then right after that, we had Sepulcher, which, you know, at the time, like, obviously didn't end well. But 10 days through that race, we were playing as good as we ever have. We basically had done, at that point, what was the longest Race to World First that had been happening since we started doing it. We were better than them on Halandris, better than them on Anduin. And if the race had been a normal raid and ended there, we could have won the raid. And then it went after that, and obviously it fell apart. But, like, there was things to take away from that were good to build on. Vault, the boss was nerfed and killed when we were asleep, which is still probably the worst losing has ever felt. Amir Drasil was closer. Amir Drasil was had some different circumstances than Sanctum. Max, did you ever consider going dark so Echo can't steal any of your ideas? Which they do a lot, and from what I see, and gain a lead. I mean, any guild who's behind is going to take any information they can get from any guild that's ahead at any given time. It's normal. And yeah, we did go dark for that exact reason. Specifically, the beginning of a boss makes sense to go dark. Like, going dark later into a fight doesn't really make sense. Like, for example, if Echo had killed Muggsy before we woke up and had a couple hours to spend on Gallywix, I'm just going to make this up. It took us, and we played really well when we went dark. We had, like, a bunch of pulls, and we got to, like, 60% or something. Bro, if we hadn't had gone dark, I bet Echo would have like basically done what we did the previous night in like 1 hour instead of 4. Purely because it's just that kind of fight. You know, you could just get a working version of it. You don't have to do any problem solving, testing. It's just done, you know? Where if we would have now, because we go dark, if they would have killed Muggsy before we woke up, they would have wasted hours. We would have gone dark and relatively gained hours of a lead just by not showing them something. But later in the boss, it's less important. But, like, obviously they killed Muggsy late, so they ended up having all that information anyway. But, I mean, you make that decision just in case they do that, right? Max, how does it feel like having the FU to the haters with the login issues and door issue? What do you mean the haters? Bro, the haters didn't DDoS our servers and... Well, maybe they did, actually. That's a conspiracy that I'm biased to maybe believe. Someone said if the DDoS was coming from Eastern Europe, apparently, like, Eastern Europe loves betting, and Echo had, like, crazy odds during the race. For some reason, they had like 5-1 odds, which is like a pretty good deal to bet on Echo, right? Like they have a good chance of winning. And then they were like, okay, they're DDoSing. I mean, it's probably bullshit. Certainly bullshit. I mean, there's no way that's true, but like that's what my headcanon has started to believe. Some not Echo themselves, but like some like crazed EU fan that bet a lot of money. But I don't even know how does DDoSing even work? Bro, we were literally talking about that this morning at breakfast, and I was like, dude, I don't know how DDoSing works. And then I turned to Trill, who's at a different table, and I go, you're a PvPer. How does DDoSing work? Bro's trying to expose Trill. I mean, he's never done that. Trill's too wholesome, but like PvPers are a different breed, bro. RBGers used to like, they would RBG on Skype, and then they would play with someone who's been playing with them for months. And then they'll randomly just play on other teams, and then they will play against like, their Moonkin will queue with another team, and it's not even, like, meant bad or anything, but they'll just knock that guy offline every time they queue into them, just so they auto-win the game, because they have their friend's IP. And then you'd think this is some crazy drama, right? Bro, that Moonkin will just queue with the team that DDoSed him again, and, like, it won't even be a thing. Like, it's some, like, primitive caveman shit, bro. Like, they are completely built different. Oh, my mom's in YouTube chat. What's up, Mom? Congrats. Dad and I are super happy the back-to-back wins. Thanks, Mom. W, Mom. Max, how does one get into Liquid when they are on and off, but can learn mechanics extremely fast, but go to better guilds because everyone wants logs? There's one way to get to Liquid in Echo. For years, there was like a couple of ways you could have like 6 years ago, you probably could have put in an application, which like we would accept like one of those in expansion or something. But there's nothing. There's no way. Like the only way, and the only way that people have gotten into Liquid and Echo in the last couple years is you be the best player in your guild, get recruited to a better guild because of that, be the best player in that guild, repeat until you're in like the world 3rd to 5th guild, and then we'll find you. That's what happens. That is what has happened like almost every person we've recruited for a long time. Or vodka. Yeah, or Raiden vodka or instant dollars. And you don't even have to play the game for very long to do that. There's been multiple people who've gotten to this level in the race in a very short amount of time. Like Boomy's been playing the game for like a year and a half or something. Tobo played the game for a year and a half before joining Echo for the first time. You can do it fast if you're committed and obviously like a complete freak of nature. But yeah. Why vodka specifically? I mean, I don't really know. We've just recruited a ton of sick players from vodka, really. We don't look to them specifically. There's just a bunch of gamers in there. I think the players we have from vodka, which is like not a Race World First guild, well, they used to be, by the way. Shout out old vodka, like back in the day. But the players we have from them are like Boomy, who's extra crazy. Cinny, Fired Up, obviously, from back in the day. Yips. I think there might be like one or two more. Maybe one or two more. But we just mentioned 4 players from one guild. We don't have 4 players from any other guild except for people in the Race World First. We probably have had 4 players from Instant Dollars, 4 players from Fat Shark Yes, Scott, Wolf Disco, Impec, and Zasevi. Yeah, definitely 4 from Fat Shark Yes. We have 4 players from Echo. We have 4 players from... I don't think we have 4 players from Method. But like every other guild we have recruited 4+ players from is like a Race World First guild. So it makes sense to recruit from them because they're developing talent that's trying to do this. Vodka is not. They just randomly have gamers there. It makes no sense. Poach Hopeful. I mean, we were not trying to recruit. The story of recruiting Hopeful goes like this. So we were not trying to recruit Hopeful after Amir Drasil, and then we heard Echo was. So then we were like, all right, well, maybe we could recruit Hopeful, because before we didn't know if there was necessarily a spot, but we could make a spot to make them worse. Still not really sure how good he was, because he hadn't, like, done it yet. And then after last year, he had a tier of doing it, and he looked like he was doing pretty well. It's like, okay, well, now the person with potential has some proven value and seemed like they'd be a good vibe and stuff. So I think we reached out to him after last year, and he didn't want to leave. So, you know, I don't know if we'll do that again, because we have a ton of really sick mages, so I don't know if there's really a need. But you could usually always make a need. Dranako can play Lock, Cine plays Priest, KSP is a rogue main. Literally all of our mages, who are fucking nuts, by the way, all can just play other stuff, right? You could always make room, but you just never know. I think his reasoning, at least he kind of publicly stated this, like a couple years ago when he joined, or last year when he joined Echo. Someone asked him why Echo versus Liquid, and he just said he didn't want to, like, go to a guild and be the, like, second mage. Which kind of makes sense. Like, isn't it a logical thought that if you're going to a guild and you know that you are not going to be the number one on a class, that means that you could potentially be spending all of your time, you're getting paid, but, like, you're spending all your time gearing up 15 characters and 6 months of farm just to do 2 weeks of progression, and then you end up not even playing based on class balance, you know? That's like a... I mean, that would suck, right? Gingy? I mean, I'm not even saying, like, oh, I can go to Echo and just be better. I know there's been a lot of, like, Gingy Echo, or Gingy Hopeful Mage stuff over the last few days. I just mean, like, Gingy's a multi-classer. He's not a mage, right? Like, so like, theoretically, if Hopeful was, like, really good for Echo, he would just be the mage because they could just have Gingy play whatever, right? Like, you don't always have to have him play mage. He's, like, a hunter who's played a lot of stuff, right? So that's really more what that means. Not like, oh, I can go to Echo and just gap Gingy, even though that's been the meme over the last few days. But, like, I'm pretty sure most people know you're not, like, if you're coming to this guild, you're not going to... There's a chance for you to be the number one of some class, potentially, but mage is not one of them. Max has fired up your best player? I don't know. I actually, if you were to, like, straight up hold a gun to my head and be like, you have to, if you don't answer this 100% honesty and I'm like a genie and I know if you're lying, tell me who your best player is, I would not be able to tell you. I don't know. There's like probably realistically a list of like 6 to 8 people that are probably as good as you can possibly be at whatever they're doing in WoW. And then 20 people that are very close, you know. Max, with no heroic week, did you guys ever plan on doing mythic splits with a second or third raid? I mean, full mythic splits is a complete meme. If you ever to do that, you just lose. But like, if you progress and then on Monday, so what we would, if we would have like not had power outage, killed Sprocketmonger on Monday, we would have done a 2 out of 8 mythic on like, for a couple of people that didn't get saved week 1 that we wanted to use week 2. Do you consider that mythic splits? Because I think when most people talk about mythic splits, they're like, okay, this raid is going to next reset, so we're not going to actually progress as mains. We're just going to like split the 4 easy bosses on mythic just like 10 times and then just be more geared for next week. I think that's what people consider mythic splits. Because that's a full commit. That means you're splitting up your mains intentionally, meaning you're not going to make real progression just to farm gear. That's nonsense. That's clown shit. That anyone that ever is like gets close to thinking that's a good idea is going to immediately lose that race because of that decision. Also, I don't want more splits, bro. Splits suck. Max, how did you feel about the extra pee breaks that drinking lots of water has caused? Honestly, it was worth it. We drank so much more W this race. Shout out Tanner. He was just like, we had like a performance coach this race, and he was like getting us some good supplements, making sure we were all on top of our water intake, making sure we were on top of our like not drinking caffeine at the wrong time. And bro, that like really helped a lot of the players. Max, it really did seem like you guys were with it late into prog nights more than earlier tiers. Oh, like up later? Like we were playing better later, or we stayed up later? That's actually... So that means that maybe that is true. I mean, I think we did. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we played just as good this tier as we did last year. Last 2 tiers, we just fucking owned everybody. But also one thing that is unique about this tier is we raided 1 hour less a night than we ever have before. And we're 12 days into the raid, meaning that, or I guess today would be day 13, but at the end of yesterday, that would have meant that we would have lost 12 hours of progression, meaning basically an entire raid day lost. But obviously, I mean, the thinking is that it's better, right? You lose 12 hours of progression, but what's the best way to say this? You in the hours you're awake, you progress more efficiently. You know, like a sleep, the sleep is good thing. You could probably even do more. I mean, fuck it. Maybe next raid we'll just raid 1 less hour. Hit the crazy sleep. It's probably 12 wasted hours you lost. Probably not. Max, how are you feeling taking risks into the next race knowing you're lined up for a sweep? What? I don't know. When the next raid comes out, we'll just do the raid normal style, like regular mode. We've done this for a long time, man. It's easy. You just figure out the bosses and then you kill them. Did anyone fly out today? I think a few people. Have you been smashing the monster fridge? No, I only do one monster a day. Speaking of which, I need to finish this so the caffeine can wear off before bed. If you didn't lead, would you still be a Race to World First Caliber player? I don't know. I mean, I'm biased and I'm confident, so I feel like the answer would be yes. And what that means is I would be playing the game all the time again and really committing myself to it. But the reality is, I don't know if I would, man. I'm kind of over it. I'm definitely over the 15 characters. Here's what I know. And before y'all think this is copium, there's like a dude in Echo that absolutely hates my guts that used to raid here. Oh, I guess he's like a caster for them now. That, like, his own words when he was here said that I was one of the best 3 players in the guild. Okay? So I'm using the words of someone who fucking does not like me at all, rather than just telling you what I think. But that was when I played. Every other player I've seen stop playing and come back years later has never been the same player. I'd like to think that I'm better than that because I'm biased and I'm me and I could play again and try just as hard as I did before and be one of the best players again. But the guild's also gotten a lot better since I last played. But I've also never compared myself to other players in the guild when I haven't been raid leading, right? Like, I'm comparing myself to them as a player while they're just playing the game, and I'm doing that plus raid leading as much as I am now while playing the game, right? Those are comparing 2 completely different things, you know? So if I ever had to just play in the race and not raid lead, I'm going to give you the honest answer. I haven't, like, played WoW seriously. I used to do, like, MDIs, Race to World First, for many years. I haven't played WoW seriously in multiple years. So the idea that right now I could step into, like, Liquid's Race to World First roster and be one of the best players, no way. I don't think I'd stick out and be, like, terrible. But I mean, right now I probably would because I'm fucking washed, bro. I haven't played in forever. I would have to, like, play the game a lot. I'm trying to, like, give myself the best chance here. Like, am I playing the game as much as everyone in the guild? Like, if I just, like, log into my monk, get good gear on a class after not playing for a year and just, like, zone in, I'm gonna get fucking shit on, bro. Of course. But if I'm still really passionate about WoW, playing all the time, really caring, I would like to think the answer is yes, but I also don't know the answer, if that makes sense. That being said, I could just pick this game up and start raiding in, like, basically every other guild except for, like, 1 or 2 and fucking own. Raid leading or not. I'll always have that. But at the very, very highest level, this long away, I don't know. Just being honest. What's the lore behind... No, I'm not trying to start drama. This is, like, some old shit. This is not me saying any new news. He's not going to hear that and be, like, surprised. But, like, basically, he was in the guild, and he was an officer, and I was the GM and raid leader, and we just didn't see eye to eye. It's not, like, on some deep personal shit. We just didn't get along. It's that simple, right? And then he just went to the other guild. Yeah, it's not deep at all, man. Typically, things aren't. It's not that big of a deal. Max, what are the other top 5 guilds missing to catch up to you in Echo? The other top 5? So not Method? Like, the Chinese guilds? The Chinese guilds need Jesus. Like, it would, like, just an insane amount of, like, an uncountable amount of things. But Method, more experience, better players. Yeah, I guess. And then for guilds like Fat Shark Yes and Instant Dollars, probably also better players and more experience. But also they would need to triple their raid hours, generate enough following to fill their splits, gain like hundreds of millions to like $1 billion gold to be able to support all of that. Just like, there's like a ton of barriers to entry that exist, which is probably why a lot of people don't try. But even if those were removed, the player skill and experience is by far the biggest thing. Sponsors, I imagine, really matter too. Oh yeah, money. W money. I've always felt like I don't think money ever gets anyone's foot in the door. Like, for example, we did this for years and years and years and years and years without getting paid. In fact, we were like actively losing money doing this just for fun because you loved it so much, right? And I genuinely don't believe anyone could ever be as good as they would need to be to get in a guild like this if they were motivated by money. Like, oh, I want to be a Race World First Raider to make money. That's just like not what happens. However, I do think having sponsors and like a salary for your players helps maintain them to be able to do this for longer, right? Like that is absolutely true. Like for example, like I don't know how many players different would have joined this guild over the last few tiers without money being a factor. I'd imagine it might not affect that at all, but the amount of people that continue to play and don't quit, I think is probably heavily affected, which is very important. Max, do you think Tyler 1, given enough time to train, could play in Liquid after practicing for 1 year? I don't know that guy. I'm not really familiar with him, so I don't know how good he is at games. But, like, there are examples of, like, Boomy and Tobo are the two I know that, like, basically picked up WoW and within a year and a half were in the best guilds in the world. So it's possible if you're truly built crazy that you can get that good that fast, but it's just so rare. So it's certainly possible. I just don't know if he's built like that. I don't know anything about that guy. And I'm not going to say no, because I'm not trying to get, like, clipped and then, like... Because, like, the realistic answer is no. Of any human, the answer to that question is no. In fact, it hasn't been proven that literally anyone on Earth has ever been able to do this in a year, including some of the best gamers ever, you know, like Ben and people like that. Like, no one, you know? It's been a year and a half, but not a year. So the answer realistically is no, but I don't want to do that in one clip because people are then going to link it to him, and then I'm like, I don't care about drama at all. I don't want anything to do with that, so, who cares? Max, do any players in Liquid work a standard job? I think maybe a few, but it's very rare. But it's like a chicken before the egg thing, though. The reason a lot of Liquid players don't have jobs is also the reason they were ever able to get good enough to do this, which is that they're probably, most of them are in a life situation where they were able to have the support around them to basically play video games for 15 hours a day just for years at a time, right? It's not you're able to do that because you're this good. You probably only got that good because you were able to spend that much time. Rich kids? Oh, not. I don't know if that's true at all. Maybe the way I was describing that made it sound like they were Nepo babies. To my knowledge, that's not true of any of them. Actually, I don't know a lot about Avade. Avade, we always think Avade might be a billionaire because we don't know anything about him. But, like, outside of anyone else, I don't think anyone. I'm not accusing Avade of being a Nepo baby, by the way. Avade's a great guy. Not to say that a Nepo baby couldn't be a great guy. Or girl. But yeah, just Avade is a man of mystery. Max, what's the chance that Shroud and Rizzy get in the raid? I don't know. I was kind of thinking about playing Windwalker, and then I remembered that... Or I didn't remember, sorry. I was asking some people around the dinner table the other day. I was like, yo, what's got to be good in Mythic Plus right now? Like, Fire Mage, Windwalker? And they were like, bro, Windwalker's terrible in Mythic Plus. And in my head, I'm just like, bro, how is that fucking true? They do infinite single target. They do infinite cleave. But I'm thinking of raid cleave. They're just hard target capped. Not even like soft target capped, like hard target capped. So you just can't play. Like bro, if dungeon pulls were 5 targets, Windwalker would be astronomically goated. Like they would be so crazy. They would be bis as fuck. But yeah, get owned. It's the story of many classes. Max, was Gallywix historically the easiest mythic end boss since Xavius? Yes. I think Gallywix is probably a little closer to Sarkareth than Xavius. But I said this earlier though. I think Gallywix is the biggest missed tuning ever. I think that's a good argument. Cause like Sarkareth wasn't really bad tuning. We just had way too much gear because of the crest system being really OP the first time it was a thing. And this boss missed its tuning more than Xavius because Xavius was supposed to be easy. Like the intention of Xavius and the intention of Emerald Nightmare is easy raid. Easy boss. The intention of... They have given you a very clear example of what they expect from you from end bosses, right? What are like the last 5 end bosses in a row? Fucking Queen Ansarek, maybe the hardest fight ever. Fyrak, one of the top 5 hardest fights ever. What was before that? Sarkareth, which, again, a little easier, but one of those things where it's a gear thing. Like this raid, for example, people said that One-Armed Bandit was easier than Sprocket, Monger, and Styx because they're doing the classic look at pull counts thing. Bro, if we pulled One-Armed Bandit in week 1 gear, that boss would have been hard as fuck. That would have been way harder than those 2 fights, right? So it's just like when you're pulling the boss kind of thing. What was the boss before that? Razageth? Kind of a weird boss. Was unbelievably hard, but no one killed it in that version. They nerfed it like 5 times, and then the version they nerfed it to was a complete joke. What was before Razageth? What, Jailer? You know what I'm saying? So outside of a boss that was like nerfed 5 times and then killed, and a boss that had the crest system make it really easy because of overgearing it, end bosses have a certain level of expectation. So you know what they want you to get from an end boss. And Gallywix was like way below that, right? The only people who kind of felt fun and had a good time on Gallywix was us, because we were just the people who got to figure all of it out. And it was difficult in its own way. It was a different kind of difficulty. It was not mechanically difficult. It was just like information gathering and quick problem solving difficult, which is really fun. But no one else gets to do that, right? We're the only people who gets to do that. Dude, you know what I really feel bad for? And again, this is not flame for method, but bro, all the people in chat that get themselves hyped up for a 3-horse race every tier, seemingly all the way back since the Pieces days in like BFA, bro, they can't catch a break, you know? Like every time they get themselves every time they give themselves like a ton of hype going into a tier, like I personally, it felt like this tier, I feel like Method had more hype to make this a 3-horse race this tier than ever before. Like even Pieces, purely like ever, like I'm pretty sure. And they just got absolutely, you know, like those fans got let down. It does ask again the age-old question of if like the way the Race World First is set up, if there will ever be 3 competitive teams at the same time. It's hard to imagine. There's a lot of logic to where it would never be true. For one big reason. We're trying to recruit this team's best player at every race. Every time they're like developing good talent, that guy sounds good to me. Give me that guy. They can win World First here and they make more money. No one's doing anything wrong. I'm doing the best thing for my guild. I don't give a fuck about any other guild, right? I'm gonna do that. We're gonna do that. Same thing that killed Pieces eventually. You know, it sucks, but it's real. It's a real thing. And maybe the biggest thing is, even if they were to ever have the exact same player skill, if they ever got to a boss, a truly difficult boss where you have to optimize damage and strategize it at the same time, how can you ever expect them to be good at that when they have never really been given a chance to do it, you know? Like, Echoes has had practice doing it because they're really good, and eventually, due to, like, the way the race works, right, you'll eventually end up in the lead, starting from behind if you play as well, due to the sharing of information, and then now it becomes a flip-flopping thing. Echo gets a chance to do this all the time. Method has never been in a position to do that. So, like, the one time they actually get in that position, they're going to have to start building that experience then. You can't really build it early. Max, would you take Echo's best player knowing it would kill the guild? I mean, it depends on who it is. I don't want Echo to die. Like, even though, like, obviously... I mean, I honestly don't dislike Echo. Like, I actually mean that. I 100... Like, I'm not bullshitting you. Like, there are people in Echo that I really don't like, but I don't dislike Echo. Like their leadership I don't dislike. I don't think they're bad people. You know, but like there's people in the guild I want to fail for sure. But I don't want them to die. And I don't even mean that from like a business perspective. I don't even mean that from like a we are going to make less money because like, I mean, this is probably not a surprise, but we are you know, like us and Echo both, the other guild is very valuable to the other guild. Like if Echo's not here, our value goes down. Like we make less money for sure. We might lose our jobs straight up. If we're not here, Echo's value goes way down. Viewership goes down, everything, right? So like that's part of it, but you don't even really think about that because like you can't control a lot of that. It's just like how it is. But I mean, like, the race wouldn't even be the same for us. Like, we would still have fun progressing these raids, but, like, I mean, the race wouldn't be the same without them. Like, even though I hate the feeling, I kind of need the feeling of doing the race and, like, waking up and, you know, being like, damn, how far did they get? Like, that stress. I don't want that to go away. You like stress? I don't know. Part of it, I mean, I like it when we win. Dude, I just hate losing. Like, I would have, like, if it meant you never won or lost, but you were just able to do the race and have fun, I would prefer that over like the highs of winning, just because the lows of losing are so much worse. Like it's not worth it. The trade-off isn't worth it. Like losing is so much worse than winning is good that I would rather just raid with my friends and have fun. If that was a choice. It's not really a choice, but unless I want all my friends to lose their job, which sounds bad. Did you know Gallywix was going to have 4 fire mages in the comp? No, I mean we prepared 4 fire mages in case because they were good enough at a specific thing this race that we might use them eventually. But I mean, we didn't really know anything about Gallywix, so we made sure we had to have like everything prepared. How many DKs did you prepare for grips? Just blood DK on Yips. So we were gonna bring in Rep Paladin, sit Prop Paladin, and bring in blood DK if you needed grips on that fight, because DK DPS kind of stinks. And just whenever you need grips, for some stupid reason, blood DK is just twice as good at gripping as DPS DK, which I just don't know why that exists. All right, Max, with the race now over, how far off were the pre-raid community predictions for how many of each class would be in the World First comp? Oh, let's look at that. All right, you guys want to look at the pre-raid comp predictions plus pull count predictions? Let's do it. I'm just going to warn you right now, I think it's going to be really wrong. I remember even at the time, usually it's pretty close. This time it was like, oh boy. But to your all's credit, though, there was really so many things that it could have been based on the end boss. Because, like, I had you guys predict the end boss kill comp, but with how niche every class was this tier, and then the raid, really for the first time in a long time, they explored those niches. Like, Blizzard chose to explore those niches intentionally. All right, here we go. So this is Nerebar Palace. This was 3 weeks pre-raid, the guess, and then it was 1 week pre-raid, the guess. And then this is what it was actually, and chat got 16 right out of 20, which is pretty good, although it's worth mentioning that there are like 14 things that are required raid buffs. You can look at that however you want. All right, so we're going to look at the chat list for the casino raid. Now, I want to mention, I did tell you guys we did the 1 2 weeks pre-raid, we did the 1 week pre-raid. I told you that I would let you revise it 1 day pre-raid. I lied about that. I just didn't stream that day. I wasn't feeling it. We were just preparing for the raid. I didn't stream Race World last that day either. No Heroic Week, because that would have been sick content. But I didn't let you guys do that. So I did lie about that. So I just want to keep that a buck. All right, so we're going to remove that 1 day pre-raid. We're going to hit the actual. All right, let's see what it actually was here. Okay, so it was Warrior Tank. It was, ooh, the healers, guys. That's brutal. That's fucking brutal right there. Oh, actually, not too far off. I was looking at the far one. This is fine. You were like 1 healer off, bro. That's fine. Oh, well, I guess I should leave it next to this, yeah. So it's easier to count. DPS, we could have played some warriors, so you guys are kind of getting screwed here. We sat our warrior, unfortunately for you guys, we sat our warrior 3 pulls before we killed it. So you guys would have gotten 1 here. Which super sucks for Wolf, by the way. Wolf played great this tier, just Warrior wasn't what we ran at the end, just because Fire Mage was better. Alright, so we did run a Rogue. I guess I should keep these in the actual spot, just so it's easier to count again. I don't know why I'm making this harder on myself. So you guys went into the tier. Okay, so we'll fill these in a second and see which ones you guys got. You did get Rogue, DH, and Enhance, right? You guys did guess DPS DK. That was a tough one. We never planned on playing a DPS DK ever, and we were all laughing about how we even brought one in on sticks, even briefly to grip stuff, which we ended up sitting anyway. Okay, so DK, you guys guessed Moonkin. Moonkin, historically dog shit rating class right now. They have to choose between AoEing and single targeting. Compare that to a Mage. Mage is blasting full single target and is doing Moonkin AoE on anything that's around the boss. Just legendarily dogshit rating class Moonkin, unplayable outside of exactly sticks, in which, again, very niche raid, exploring niches, they were the best class at. And mages were actually still probably better on sticks with good boss movement. You guys guessed 2 evokers. For a lot of times we ran 0, but most of the time we ran 1. Can keep that in there. Oh, you guys guessed Rhett and Ellie, bro. Oh, I forgot. I'm looking at the far list. I copy and pasted the old one. That's why I'm cooked. Chat. You guys guessed 1 hunter. Okay, you got that right. That's usually what it ends up being. Then you guessed warlock and 2 mage. We're going to add some mages here. But okay, so there's one big thing you guys missed. Just right off the bat. So, and I'll even put them next to the thing that they replaced. Windwalker. We brought 3 Windwalkers. Fun story. So you have never played 2 Windwalkers in a raid. In fact, you have never played, if you've ever even played 2 total monks in a raid, you have never played 3, and you've never even played 1 of the other spec. You've never played 3 monks in a raid ever, and in this raid you ran 5. Mistweaver, astronomically broken damage. Windwalker, astronomically broken. We would have ran more. The reason why, and I'm glad it's being put next to Warrior, why would you play Warrior over Windwalker? Windwalker's better at literally everything than Warrior. They're tankier, they're faster, they do more damage in everything except for specifically Arms Warrior Execute, which wasn't relevant in this raid ever, because both of the Execute phases were an easy DPS check. And Prot Warrior is also legendarily broken. Does insane damn, can't die. Okay, what else did we play? So let's throw a couple more of these in here. We ran 2 more mages. And we ran a Shadow Priest for the vibes. I don't know if Shadow Priest was really good on the boss, but we like playing Tobo. He's fun. Oh, I was just going to type Tobo. But it depends on, like, I think this raid was really hard for you guys to pick, if I'm going to be honest. Because looking at your comp, okay, the DK Red and Ellie, massive throw. Let's keep it a buck. Massive throw by you guys. That was crazy. All of those classes are not good. But well, actually, I don't know. They're not that bad. It's just that Windwalker is so much better. And the way you think about things at this level isn't like, would we want to sit a DK? The question is actually, why would you not play a Windwalker over them? And we just have the ability to run 5 of them if we wanted to, right? Ret's fine. It's just Windwalker's better in every way. And another thing, outside of throwing these 3 classes, they could have made a boss where the rest of this comp makes sense. In fact, there were bosses in this raid that made sense to play a lot of these things, right? There were bosses where you wanted 1 mage. There were bosses where you wanted 3 moonkins. There were bosses where you wanted 3 warlocks and 3 shadow priests. And then on the end boss, you could have played 0 priests and only 1 warlock. You know? It's just a raid that asked a lot of different things from you depending on the boss you were on. Max, does Liquid ever have to play a worse class to get a better player? If Arcane Intellect didn't exist and Mage was bad, would you still play Fired Up? But it's like there's no Mage raid buff and Mage was bad? No, you wouldn't play a Mage. I mean, you might have Fired Up multi-class or something, but no. Like our best players are really, really, really good, but the whole guild is really good. You would sit anyone in the guild if their class was bad, if they weren't playing a class that was playable. There's multiple people who almost didn't play this entire raid. Like, Lip has killed basically every boss for us. I think he might be the most senior member of the guild. And, like, he's the most longest tenured active raider. And we had him prepare this raid, Ret Paladin, second Enhance, DK, and what was the last one? We had him Gear and Arms Warrior over the reset in case we wanted Execute. He just fucking struck out. Like, it's just every class that you play is stinky. Like just Giga low roll, go next, you know? All of those things could have been good. Just depends on the situation. Well, except for DK. So how many did you guys get right? Chat, this is not looking good. This is not looking good. Chat, you got less answers right than the amount of raid buffs that are required. That's kind of tough. Who would have guessed that balance was so whack this tier? I don't think balance. I think this tier is probably within like 5% of like what tuning is on average in every single patch. This isn't like an extreme tuning thing. It just seems that way because they made raid fights that actually required niches, and they made niches good for the first time in a long time. It's less homogenized damage output. That doesn't, like, for example, they could have made a different raid. In fact, if I really cared about making this argument, which I don't really care, I could go back and actually just show you a bunch of raid fights from a raid tier and give you the exact same balance that exists right now, and a class that you think is OP and needs to get nerfed would have been a one of for the entire raid because it never had the niche that they're good at, but this raid did. But this raid comp is pretty interesting. It's basically bring all of your raid buffs, bring 1 extra priest, and then play 5 monks and 4 mages. 9 classes. I guess 7 classes after raid buffs are just 2 things. Crazy. Class stacking that hasn't existed since Legion. And Legion didn't have raid buffs, basically. All right, let's look at pull count predictions. I never ended up writing this down, but I think I put it in my notepad. All right, here were chat's predictions on raid count. On pull count. Now, keep in mind, we're all going to get this wrong. But I'm going to choose to roast you guys first. Okay? You guys guessed Vexy was 1-shot. Hey! Let's go. Let's go. That's a nice 1-shot. This is chat's guess right here. Okay? Cauldron 1-shot as well. 2 in a row. We're 2 for 2. All right, on to Rick Reaver, which I gave you guys the benefit of the doubt of choosing whether it was a 1-shot or not a 1-shot rather than specifying. 3 out of 3. Not a 1-shot. You guys are fucking owning. All right. Now it gets bad. So, Styx Bunk Junker 10. That is not accurate. It was 10 times more than that. It was a typo. Add a 0. I don't think so. I think it was just wrong, but that's okay. Sprocket Monger Lockenstock, 43. Okay. 60 more. One-Armed Bandit, 145. I don't remember what it ended up being, like 50 or something like that. But if this was a week 1 boss, probably over 100, so not a bad guess. Muggsy, 245? Not a bad guess. Muggsy was really hard. I don't know how much Echo took on that. Let's see. Dude, I don't know why we astro gapped on Muggsy so bad. At least I didn't actually see the time spent on the boss, but I'm pretty sure they spent like 6 more hours than us on that boss. The boss was nerfed. That barely affected pulls. We were 25 pulls into the boss, and they were 20 pulls when they nerfed the stacking dot. And then when they nerfed the Moxie in the last phase, we were like 80 pulls in, and they were a little bit less than that. But also, we had only been in the last phase for like a couple hours, and they just got in the last phase. So those nerfs didn't really affect your progression very much because... Wrong raid? Is this the raid? Wait, why is it showing Nerebar Palace? Oh. How many did we take on Muggsy? Where's the thing? One of the sites gets the pull counts right, and one of them gets them wrong. We have a habit of, like, pulling the boss when people are AFK, and then it just kills everyone over, like, 30 to 40 seconds. And one of the websites counts the pulls, and the other one, like, obviously correctly doesn't. Go to Warcraft logs. Look at this, though. This is crazy. The last boss has been killed, and only 5 guilds have killed the 5th boss. That's crazy. Oh, 9? I guess it's 9. Yesterday it was 5, though. It was like 4 yesterday, I think. I think a lot of these guilds killed it in the last, like, 24 hours. That's so interesting. Okay, so this shows the pulls, apparently. This isn't what I want to look at. Muggsy, 192. What did we do on it? 149. But the pulls from 149 to 190 are all very long pulls, so it's very time-consuming. Like here, we got it low, and then we were like, all right, we'll just kill it now. And Echo had a lot longer. I thought they were going to kill... I thought Echo was going to kill Muggsy way faster because that was like the only boss that you would have wanted another arms warrior, and they had one. So they could just kind of like freely get the DPS check, and they didn't do it. Like, we did the like, yo, we'll just kill it now, and they just did all of this. God, those bugs were so fucking annoying, by the way. Max, did you have a strat for the end of Muggsy, or was it luck with the bugs? Huh? I don't know what you're asking me. We were wiping to the same bugs that Echo was wiping to for hours. So we were both dealing with that. We found some ways to like try to solve it, which is pretty common in the race world first. You have to figure out how to solve bugs. We figured out they were desynced. So what we did was we had our players, instead of run into them forward, we had them run into the back of where the mines were kiting, assuming that the CC immune that makes them faster was assuming their actual desynced model was behind them. And that seemed to make it more consistent. But Echo had videos of us doing that, right? So they could have done the same thing. And comms of us talking about that. Here we go. Yeah, so that pause. How long did Method take? I feel like Method, when I realized Method, like if anyone's trying to size Method up to Echo and us, it's pretty hard to tell earlier in the raid because none of the bosses were really that hard. But when we got to Muggsy, like Muggsy's way harder than every other boss we killed. I think that's when you could really tell. Not in pull count, because obviously pull counts vary. In fact, I bet they killed Muggsy in less pulls. They killed Muggsy in less pulls than us. So the most casual race fan you know would like convince themselves that like Method played insane on Muggsy. You know? They Vantus that boss. Completely irrelevant that they Vantus it. That doesn't matter. Like, this is a boss that... I remember seeing this where Echo and us were at like 100 pulls on this fight the day before it died. And we were both wiping at like 10%. And they were like 25 pulls in, and they wiped at like 50. Bro, this is it. Pull 25, they wiped at 25%. Look at that. Pull 25 for Method, they wiped at 25%. Let's look at our pulls. Here we go. Muggsy, pull 25. Ooh, that's 45%. When did we hit 25% for the first time? Here we go. Pull 64. Bro, Method outplayed us so hard. Do you see why pull count Andes are just so fucking clueless? Oh, man. I'm not even dogging on Method. It's just, dude, people who ever mention pull counts and are serious just blow my mind. Anyways, yeah, but when they were there that fast, I'm like, holy shit, strats are sick on this. But then, like, how they didn't really close. Like, Echo is just going so much faster with the same information. But Echo did Gallywix in 48 pulls. Yeah, I mean, dude, if you ever want to see why pull counts don't matter on a boss, or if you're trying to determine how... Basically, pull counts, if you're trying to say how good a guild played versus another guild on a boss, and you're using pull counts, you're doing something wrong. Because, like, I can give you some information from us. We killed this boss on 100 pulls yesterday. Well, not yesterday, some pulls the previous night. Like, fully figuring out the boss. I can tell you, we played insane. I think I might have had my best day ever yesterday as a raid leader. I fucking smoked this boss. We smoked this boss. So I'm very proud of the amount of time it took us to kill this. From basically this point onward, we're figuring out a boss that you have no information on, you're figuring out in real time and having to strategize. Did fucking amazing. Our players did great, okay? And Echo killed it in 50. I highly doubt anyone in Echo's like, like, this, again, the most casual Race World First fan could say something, but no one in Echo's gonna say they, like, like, wow, we outplayed them on this fight, right? That is a casual Race to World First fan thing. You're just able to see a boss an entire strat and do it in half the amount of time. Another thing for that is I'm telling you, I felt like we played insane. I've been in Echo's position before. I've lost and then had to kill a boss. It's miserable, right? You try to stay positive, the motivation's gone. You're not playing at 100%. Yesterday, we were playing at 100% and did this at 100, and they were not playing at 100% and did it in 50. When you get to a boss second with all the information laid out for you, it turns out it's going to make the pull count lower. No one's doing the wrong thing. Everyone would make the same decision. But the casual Race World First fans that ever mention pull counts in this kind of context to prove any kind of bad faith argument they're making, it makes me want to blow up 100p. Makes me want to blow up real bad. Max, I feel like pull count is an okay-ish proxy for relative difficulty of a boss, but it's not a good way to differentiate guilds on any given boss. It's definitely not a good way to differentiate guilds for so many reasons more than we're even talking about now. But it's also not a good proxy for relative difficulty. I'll agree with you at okay-ish. I would say pull count gives you a good idea of how hard a boss is like 70% of the time. I think the issue is it's often referred to as 100. Kind of similar to how people determine what classes they think are going to be good for the upcoming raid based on 5-minute no movement single target sims that are often wrong, like literally not correct, and then ranking them against each other, which they were never meant to do because they're all made with different levels of quality. It's that level of bad. But why do they not have half the pull count on any boss if they always have more information? That's a good question. But also, some bosses are more copyable than others, right? I would say, like, this boss is just one where when you have it all laid out for you, it's really easy. But the time, like, here's the answer. The extra 50 pulls it took us to kill this boss was creating the thing that made this boss killable in 50 pulls. Does that make sense? Like, here's an example. You guys know the very beginning of this fight? Very beginning. This is probably, I think, maybe the easiest way to explain this. Here, where's our kill? Okay, very, very beginning. Right when he jumps down. Okay, this thing. What you guys saw Echo do on this is one-shot this. They one-shot this. This took us 7 to 10 pulls. Did we play bad on this? No. You just have no idea how it works until you see it. And you try different things. You try range staying. You see what kind of damage it takes to do this. That's a 10 pull to 1 pull difference in the first 20 seconds of this encounter, right? Or they 2-shot or 3-shot or whatever. But like that's an example, right? Like, this is something that happens fucking immediately. It's one of the easiest parts of the fight. But without any information, it will add pulls just trying to test things. Oh, it's already working. We got past it. Okay, how can we make it better? Someone else doesn't have to do that. You've already made it better. The most time efficient thing is just to do it. Now, I'm not saying, I feel like I'm probably I'm probably doing the thing where like most people understand this and I'm like over explaining something for the person who's never going to change their mind. You know what I mean? But I will tell you that anything regarding global release, pull count Andes, it's just, I hate seeing, it's just extremely annoying when you know a lot about something. Maybe this doesn't sound so crazy when you phrase it like this. When you know a lot about something, when your life's work is doing something, and you see thousands of people confidently say like opinions about how stuff works that is just completely unfounded and false, it's just like so fucking annoying. It's not a one guy, it's thousands of guys. Like, bro, we were like staying up late last night watching Gingy and just reading his chat, bro, and it was just like, oh my god. Like, the Echo chat at least is like more reasonable, but the actual like hardcore Gingy fans, like the fans who see like the clip of him in Classic get hooed by Tyler 1 and he rips, I'm the best World of Warcraft player, and he's 100% dead-ass serious. Like, the fans who see clips like that and are like, that's my GOAT. Like, bro, so much confidence, bro, that's my GOAT. You know, like, those people, that's who's in Gingy's chat, right? Like, seeing their opinions on like, the Race to World First after it's, like when Echo's killing it, bro, that was, like, a completely, like, out-of-body experience. I could not believe it. Max, did you see the people pissed with Jet for saying Liquid and Echo were better than the top 10 guild players? Huh? Here we go. Top 1% commenter on competitive WoW. There's really not much difference between players' skill in these top guilds. It's just Race World First guilds have analysts and stuff. You guys have no idea how much better the Race World First players are than even people in a top 10 world guild. Okay, so my opinion on this probably shouldn't hold a lot of weight with you because I'm obviously biased because I'm the guild they're talking about. But so you can choose to trust me whether you think I'm a trustworthy person or not, or whether you think I'm lying to you. But this is extremely true. The player skill gap. I mean, there are often times where we've been doing this for years. We recruit players like, oh, dude, let's recruit the best player in the world 10th guild or something. And like 9 times out of 10, they sit on your bench for a tier. They're not good enough. And then you demote them. Like, we have literally tested this. From our perspective, we test this theory fucking all the time, right? The player skill difference is absolutely insane. Now, there are people that we have recruited from top 10 world guilds that are some of our best players, right? But that's extremely rare, right? We barely lose players. We accrue these players over time, and then they're not only sick, but they have experience, which is also a level that is hard to create, right? But I mean, this is extremely true and very misunderstood. But the thing is multiple things can be true. Someone can say they have an extra advantage because they have analysts and stuff, which most people don't even know what analysts do. But that is good. And we have people trading us gear and splits, and we have more gold, and we have money. Like, there's all those things are true. But usually people use that information to wash away and say there's not actually a skill difference. It's because of all of these things. And while all of those things do exist, and they are annoying barriers to entry, the pure player skill is like, it's miles different, even within the top 10. You should see responses to this post. I mean, like, again, you have to assume that I'm trustworthy when I'm telling you this, but like, a tale as old as time is we're recruiting a top 10 world player's best player, and they can't play in the guild even at the end of our bench. That happens all the fucking time. Doesn't that prove this theory in itself, right? This is tested. We don't, this isn't like something you have to guess about. We test this all the time. Let's see. This is an incredibly elitist take. I think you could easily get a roster of 30 of the best players from the world and rank 10 to 50 guilds, give them the same resources, time commitment, etc., and they would perform at least as well as Method, if not be competitive with that can look good. I'm trying to think of a real-life analogy of how insane this statement is. It's insane. It's like, I'm trying to think. It's probably going to be something with like real sports, but then that confuses a lot of idiots, because then then it becomes like athletic genes and what you were born with and that kind of stuff. And like, there's no athletic stuff in gaming, right? Even though the skill difference can still be astronomically different, right? So that usually confuses idiots. I'm trying to think of a real life analogy of how fucking crazy this statement is. Someone in YouTube chat says you can't come up with an analogy because it's Dunning-Kruger. It's a fallacy that they don't understand how much better people can be than them. Yeah, and you're not going to change their mind. Right, yeah. And it's not even better than them. It doesn't mean that people are just better than you at everything. It might mean that you have been working 8 hours a day for the last 5 years, and you went to college and you applied yourself to different things. And it turns out you're trying to compare yourself in WoW to someone that during all of that time has been playing the game for 15 hours a day, not for fun. Well, for fun, but with the sole purpose of getting better at it. You have no chance. Even if you're just as talented, right? Which I would argue that outside of the work ethic and the time that people put into the game, the people at the top level are also insanely talented naturally, like big brain gamers, right? But you didn't even have a chance because of the time you put in. So it's not even like you're insulting someone's intelligence or their potential or how smart they are. But it's also a real thing, you know? What is it? Brian Scalabrine? Exactly. Brian Scalabrine probably said this to the best. This is Brian Scalabrine. Okay? This was him playing for the Celtics. He was an NBA player. He's actually pretty good, but he just looks like he wouldn't be a good NBA player. That's basically why he's a meme, right? He played pickup with these, like, dudes that just thought... And there was, like, this video of him just... I think it was a video or, like, maybe it was an interview of him smoking just obviously people who play basketball at like LA Fitness or something, right? And the quote was, "I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me." First of all, quote goes hard as fuck, and it's true. But like, there's a lot of like club basketball players with the same level of Dunning-Kruger that are like, bro, I could totally whoop Brian Scalabrine, you know, or like the worst player on an NBA's bench. You know, they just don't know. The worst at this, bro, have you guys ever watched MMA or any kind of combat sports with a douchebag? It's crazy, bro. They will be like, bro, I could totally whoop that guy's ass. Bro, he didn't go for the arm bar there because they got in like a fight in middle school one time You know what I mean? Like zero training in MMA, but they're like 100% confident they know how to fight. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that or if you have a friend like that. I have a friend like that. Or used to have a friend like that. And that's what this reminds me of. I think the big factor is the mindset. It's not easy to go from raiding a few times in the evening to raiding about every waking hour while keeping a good attitude. Some of this also needs experience that you can't gather. 100% fact. But also Relo is a really good player. He could probably play at this level, honestly, if he wanted to. He used to be our weak aura guy for us. But that's a big thing. That's a big reason why someone would want to raid an instant dollars and Fat Shark Yes instead of do this. That's why usually when you recruit those players, they're usually better in their second raid than their first one because you kind of have to figure out how to do that. This take is bizarre. Given how aggressively Race World First guilds replace players who slightly underperform only for those players to go on to raid in a top 10 guild, it seems strange to say that there isn't a clear distinction between the players and the skills in the Race World First guilds in the top. I'm kind of tilting my head like a dog, but didn't he just... It seems like he understands, he's just looking at it the wrong way. Like, or is he agreeing with me? Arguing the same thing? Oh, yeah, oh, okay, I thought he was arguing against. I thought he was saying, bro, what do you mean they can't play in top 10 guilds? Because these players leave these guilds and then go raid in top 10 guilds. It's like, well, yeah, because we got rid of them. But yeah, I think he's agreeing. Yeah, he's agreeing. Yeah, what usually happens is players get demoted from a guild like Echo or Liquid and go anywhere else and they're their best player or one of their best players, right? And no matter where they raid. He's saying the Redditor's take is insane. Yeah, it is. I can believe in a solved environment there's not much difference. I think most of the skill expression in WoW is just knowledge and figuring out to do it yourself. Problem solving is a skill most players don't think about. Oh my god. But there's no solved environment. Like, okay, I think when most people see us get to a boss, they see like me talk about positioning, and they're obviously hearing about me talking about something on another monitor that they can't see, and everyone in the guild's looking at it, and they're like, oh, Max is like fucking cooking some shit up right now. Like, first of all, we do most of that together. It's a ongoing conversation. But the individual problem solving that every player does on how to be the best warlock on this boss is a really, really high level of problem solving that's happening constantly the whole time. And that level of skill, individual skill and intuition from the players is exactly why you kill bosses so fast, you know? Like, it's so important. Like, Fired Up, for example, like no mage is doing any cool shit on Muggsy. Fired Up does this, like, triple blink, fucking, like, 10 GCDs in, like, a second or two to like, find a way to cleave those jails, and now every mage is trying to do it, and some mages can't, and give up, you know? Like, some people, it's possible that if Fired Up or another mage didn't exist, that, like, no one even kills the boss doing shit like that. Not to glaze Fired Up, but, like, you know, like, it's just, some people's brains are built diffy. 100% true. I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and agree with everyone that agrees and disagrees. I mean, I just think this is like the most true statement that is often misunderstood ever. And I think that this person is, again, the thing is though, is it's kind of a lesson you can learn from Twitter. This person is never going to change their mind. Probably about anything, by the way, but certainly not about something they're willing to tweet about. So it's like, what are we even doing here? There's really no merit for those at the top. It's just privilege and having a head start in life. Yeah. I mean, you could say, bro, 100%, some people in our guild, like, high-rolled, if they grew up in a different situation where they didn't have access to a computer at the same time, or didn't have the ability to just stay home and play games for a couple years, would they be in a different spot in WoW? Potentially. Like, that shit absolutely matters. In fact, you could argue almost definitely. These people just can't comprehend that the difference between the 0.01% and the 0.1% is the same skill difference as 10% in one. It's just really hard to understand without experiencing it. Yeah, I mean, another example I give sometimes is, here's an example. Like, let's say you're doing a 60 pull boss. Not a super hard boss, but like a pretty hard boss. And you were to play with, I don't want to glaze Fired Up again, so I'm just going to pick someone else. Like Impec on Enhancement Shaman, right? So 60 pulls into a boss. Impec and the best Enhancement Shaman or Enhancement Shaman player in the world top 15 guild, 13, 12 guild, 5 guild, on pull 60 might be really close to each other, with Impec probably being a little better. And you might think that, like, oh, that guy could, like, play in Liquid, but, like, how? And that's kind of how success is measured sometime. What was your parse on the kill? How much damage did you do on the kill? But, like, when you kill a boss matters. We're trying to kill bosses really fast. So it doesn't matter about how good you are on pull 60. What we're measuring is how good you are on pull 1. How many things can you figure out by pull 5, right? And the reality is, if you see the difference in this and why you need to see progression to actually tell the difference between two different players, is what I just mentioned about pull 60 is also true in farm. When you see someone like Impact and someone in a top 15 guild in farm, they probably look pretty similar, right? But when you see the first like 10, 15 pulls on a really hard boss, the difference between Impact and that player, if you were in the raid with them, would be so fucking astronomical. They would be completely uncomparable, right? And that is what you're trying to get players like that to be able to kill bosses fast, right? And that's probably why a lot of this stuff is hard to understand, because unless you're in that situation, you haven't seen that, you just don't know. Max, how do you find those players? Trial and failure, and basically recruiting the best player from the top 5 to 10 guilds as often as you possibly can to see if they're good enough, get rid of the ones that aren't, and keep the ones that are. Which is why I have a very educated opinion on this question, because I constantly test this theory for the past 6 years, because we do this. I was thinking about this, if there's a podcast about this, but could you put Max on a top 20, 10, 25 guild and make them instantly competitive for world first? Like as a raid leader? No shot. Like no fucking way. No way. No. I'm glad that question was asked just so I can answer it. It would blow your mind. Like I'm really good at what I do, right? I can figure out bosses really fast. I love doing it. It's what I'm best at. I love that I'm in a situation where I have to do that, and I delegate a lot of the stuff I hate doing. Really lucky. Bro, if I didn't have the players I have, I would have no fucking chance. No chance. No way. We would get smoked. Like not even bro, we would make Method look like, we would make the Chinese guilds look like Echo and Liquid combined. Like it would, Jesus, like so different. Yeah, just so, I mean, it's just gonna be a lot of people saying the same thing. Yeah, just done it. Just an example of just peak Dunning-Kruger. The response is this. I'm glad for Jet speaking the truth though. Anyways, that was a long tangent on a tweet. Max, in your opinion, how much slower would Echo be if they weren't able to use your strats, or previous tiers vice versa? Depends on the boss. I mean, there's also in previous tiers we take stuff from them too. Obviously, they are in a position to take more stuff from us just purely due to the start time difference, right? That's not like Flame. But it depends. Like, here's an example. I don't think Echo is better than us. That's probably, I'm biased, right? But I think we're better than them. But I think they're really fucking good and really close. So I'll just make this, right? Like, we killed Gallywix yesterday in 100 pulls, and then they killed it in 50 seeing our shit. If they pull the boss in a flipped order where it's reversed, probably something very similar would happen. They do it in 100 pulls, or maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Who fucking knows, right? I think we're better, so let's say a little more. But regardless, that kind of shows you what that would be, right? So you just answered, or I guess not answered your own question, but like you can see it right in front of you. Even if you wanted to make the argument that we are equally skilled, right? I think that's somewhat of a fair argument. I think we're better, but let's say we're equally skilled. They killed the last boss in half the pulls that we did. Do you think they played twice as good as us on the boss? No. It turns out watching strats on a boss can be insane, especially a boss that has no dungeon journal and most of the pulls are figuring out what the fucking boss does, right? Now, some bosses, that's not true. Like Halandris? Bro, you could start from pull 1 with a kill video of Halandris, and it maybe saves you like 20 pulls out of 300, right? It wouldn't change anything, kind of. Like, some bosses are just so easy to understand, but so hard to execute that you just need attempts and reps on the boss, and the strat doesn't matter. Gallywix is not one of those, right? Did you look at their Sprocket kill? No. Well, I mean, okay, yes. Like we looked at it like, okay, we wiped at the end of the reset, and then now we're pulling this. Like, did they do anything that would help us? And it's like, okay, no, we're doing the same strat. Like, we got to that point of the fight first, so we knew how to do that point of the fight. We just had to do it more, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I any single time they're on a boss, even if they're behind us, I will watch a pull of what they're doing to see if something they're doing in P1 is like slightly better and more consistent than us, because that is good. I want to steal that. I like stealing things. And when they're slightly ahead of us, that is ideal as fuck, so we can do the steal. Stealing's OP. But on Sprocket, it's very easy to understand. We had the same strat basically from the beginning. We actually looked at some of their Sprocket stuff early, not late. Not after they killed it, though. Like, after they killed it, like, we knew how to kill the boss and could have killed the boss before they killed it, so there wasn't anything to see. But I did check. Mad Russian 4 says, it's hilarious to think they didn't have their own strat. You are so full of yourself. On Gallywix, the boss whose mechanics you can't know until you see them? We didn't have a strat before the boss because you can't. You cannot have a strat for a boss that you know nothing about. You have to make it on the fly. At least the name's accurate. What is it? Gingy said that they watched your kill and used your strat. Yeah, of course. And we would have done the same thing. It's not flame or bad to do that. It's logical. Right? That's how that works. There are bosses where, like, they'll definitely, like, even if we show a strat, they might just have their own that they like better, right? Based on PTR or whatever, but not on a boss you haven't ever seen before. Kaiveza. Yep, Kaiveza's a great example. Max, can you comment on Gingy and Hopeful's performance versus I'm Fired Up? Gingy and Hopeful are an Echo. I have no idea about their performance. They're not in my guild. I could make something up by watching them on stream, which I had very little time to do, but the reality is watching someone on stream gives you no idea of how good they are versus playing with them. So you and I, unless you rate an Echo, don't know either. But I can make something up. I will make shit up. Max, do you think Method has a chance to win World First again? I'm not in that guild. I don't know. Max, if you guys didn't kill Galley last night, would they have killed it while you guys slept? I answered this at the beginning of the stream. So, like, if we couldn't have killed it but still showed the full boss, they would have killed it when we slept, but we also wouldn't have slept. Like, we killed this boss with, like, 4 hours left in our raid, right? So the scenario where we would have gone to sleep meant that we thought the boss wasn't going to die in the next few hours, 4 hours after we killed it, which meant the damage check or the boss would have just had to been way harder. And if that was the case, we would have slept with easy heads. We knew we won as soon as Muggsy didn't die when we woke up. Max, have you ever had a situation where a player didn't get enough sleep and couldn't perform on a day? Yes, but like, usually you just like play through it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's happened. Sleeping is hard during the race. Like, I probably take an unsafe amount of sleeping medication to just sleep in any raid. Like, my brain does crazy shit. Like, if I don't do that, I just stay awake all night thinking about solving these fights, and I can't turn my brain off. And for years, I just tried to raw dog sleeping. I just wouldn't take anything and just try to fall asleep. I would have, like, nightmare dreams in the middle of the night, and I would wake up in a panic trying to figure out... I would have a nightmare about not being able to call mechanics in time and not being able to figure out something, and then I would just be waking up and still thinking about it when I wake up. And then I'll realize that the thing that I'm trying to problem solve isn't real. Like, it happened on Tindril most recently. Like, I like went to bed on Tindril, didn't take sleeping medication, couldn't go to sleep, eventually like fell asleep at some point, and I woke up in like a cold sweat thinking about how to soak seeds and fly in the air and soak the orbs at the same time, which is something that never happens. And we had seen the whole fight at that point, so we knew that never happened. But in my head, in my nightmare, I had created an extra mechanic lineup that never existed and was trying to figure it out, which it was unfigurable out. And then I was just in a bad mood, like, all day. So now what I do is I take, like, a bunch of melatonin, I take actually, no free ads. I take a sleeping medication, and then the ultra version of that sleeping medication, and I take a double dose of, like, all of it. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to tell me. I'm positive that's not safe. It's the only thing that works. I basically have to knock myself out with a sledgehammer, and that's the only way I can sleep during the race. It's the only thing that turns my brain off. Bro, be careful. Guys, I just told you I get it. I get it. Max, are you able to wake up and not feel like dog water after doing all that? Yeah, after my first time in the race doing it, I would wake up and feel a little drowsy, but now I just feel great when I wake up. My body's used to that shit. It tanks it now. My body's an absolute beast. Max, any response to the allegations that your raiders weren't on all fours the whole race? That was so good. The most funny thing about that for me is I knew chat would take that and run with it, but the method player asking Shay if the Worgen exploit was legit was so funny to me. That they actually had to, like, that means they were asking that question within their own guild. Scott was never Worgen. Like, we were just making it up. Right? Like, we were just... we basically had him take all the trash balls, so eventually he just started doing a ton of damage because he was doing all the trash balls. And then we asked about it, and then he just did the Worgen bit. It was so good. But the fact that other guilds had to talk about it, and it ended up just being the all-fours thing is so funny. That was actually just one person. Oh, man, that's not fun, though. In my headcanon, the whole guild was talking about it. All right, anyways, I have to go do a Race World First documentary interview, so I'll be back in a few minutes. I wonder what the post-race tweet from Gingy is going to be. He just hit us with a GG. That was it. That was the tweet. I mean, in that scenario, though, like, here's the thing. If you are, like, when you lose, you kind of have to say GG, even if you're not thinking GG. Because, like, if you say anything that could be taken anything other than just being, like, admitting defeat, you just get attacked by the other fan base. Like, dude, I remember Dryny after Razageth was like GG's to Echo, but like that was the least fun boss I ever fought. We never felt like we were making any progression because every time we got to a part of the boss that was hard, it was impossible, and then they nerfed it to make it easy, and it never felt like rewarding to progress the fight. That's all he said. By the way, that's straight facts. That's straight facts. Like, that's just true. It was one of the least fun bosses to progress for that exact reason. And then he just gets shit on in the comments by Echo fans because they're like, what do you mean, bro? Just fucking admit it. Like, first of all, ain't no way a boss is getting nerfed and then one shot while we're sleeping. And we're going to take that not bad. Like, we're going to take that bad as fuck. Like, insanely bad. But that's not even what he said, though. So that's what you have to say. I don't really know exactly what he thinks about the raid, but I mean, I doubt people in Echo think they got like release diffied. You know, I think they knew what was going to happen in the race after what they did on Muggsy. Max, does a well-designed final boss favor Liquid? I don't know about designed. I would think a harder end boss favors Liquid, but I'm biased. I think we're better than them. So when you're better than someone, the harder the boss is, the more the gap creates, right? But that's just me. Obviously, I'm biased. Max, do you think the race will ever get to a point where there is no competition for first place? No, not unless Echo or us die. And I don't think that's going to happen. Max, are most Echo players respectable people? Like, do you get trash talk from them? First of all, you can be a respectable person and trash talk someone. People take that too seriously. Yeah, I would. I don't know them super well, but I think most Echo players are like respectable people, right? Honestly, the hate Echo gets from their own fan base because of removing X player is crazy. I mean, that's a touchy subject to touch, but I guess I'll just say this: like, I'm not super knowledgeable on that whole situation, so I will say there's probably, if you, like, understand that situation, there could be a credible reason to be like, I'm positive Xavius did nothing wrong, right? And Echo totally fucked up by getting rid of him. But Echo as an org probably had no choice. Maybe it was handled poorly. Again, take this with, like, the biggest grain of salt. I'm not involved in this situation. I haven't even read all of it. It doesn't involve me. But all I'll say is, like, it was interesting going into this race because we gained a lot of fans. People who were, like, anti-Echo that used to be Echo fans because of the Xavius thing. And I'll say, while you could be a completely reasonable person and somehow have more information than everyone else on that and be positive that Xavius is innocent, which I think a lot of that's kind of up in the air. Again, I don't even know the guy, just, right? But I think, what's the best way to say this? It's really obvious how all the incels feel about it. maybe is the way to come right out and say it. Like, we gained a lot of fans this tier, but I don't know if they're the fans you want. If I can just say that. Now I want to be very clear. I am not saying anyone who's saying free Xavius is an incel at all. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is every single incel that is aware of the situation is on that side. And right. I want to be very clear that I'm not saying he's guilty or innocent or anything like that. But I don't know how many people could know that. There's information on both sides, right? It's kind of like, who do you trust? But there is something that a certain kind of person is going to feel about that, some culture war, and maybe their general opinion on women, that have made their opinions very clear and are no longer Echo fans, and have now been like, bro, I'm a Liquid fan now, and I'm like, yo, you don't have to be though. Like, high key. Max, I'd be curious to know the real money involved in running a Race World First team. There's actually no real money involved. We pay our players in McDonald's franchises. So after the tier, they get one franchise somewhere in the middle of the country, and they have to run it. And if it doesn't go well, then they lose it all. It's kind of like giving someone a bird. Like, they didn't ask for this, and they're like, hey, take care of this for the rest of your life. They live 90 years. Here you go. Right? That's what we do. It's the easiest shit, bro. Max, what's your level of stress right now? Like an absolute 0. Okay, it's a 1. It's a 1. It might be a 2. Because basically the last year of my life has been just playing hockey multiple times a night. It is what I think about all day. And I haven't played in like 2.5 weeks. And the most dreadful thing about the race specifically is if you guys have ever played a lot of like really high intensity sports, how you can take so little time off and your legs are gone and you have to just build all that up again. And I'm dreading, I'm turbo stressed about that. Because you can't start playing multiple games in a night again, at least not without a good level of play, and then you have to like build it back, and it's so annoying. Max, do you think Gallywix was designed with the race world first in mind? Yeah. By having a blind boss in the dungeon journal makes it so the first teams, the ones have the discovery process. Yeah, I mean, that's also maybe the boss's biggest flaw. Like, we're going to have an infinitely higher opinion of that boss than anyone else. We won, that's part of it. Like, you're biased on bosses you win on 100% versus bosses you lose on. That is true. But we just objectively had more fun than everyone else. Like, I think, regardless of its difficulty, any guild that went into Gallywix with no information and got to progress all of it on their own would have loved the boss. Regardless of how easy it was. Like, certainly we're a little let down by the ease, but I've, like, talked to our players. We all give it, like, a pretty high rating because that process without a dungeon journal in WoW, which has never happened before, was really fucking cool. Right? Obviously, it could have been better. Boss could have been harder. But no one else is going to have that opinion because they didn't do it. You know, they were robbed of that. Max, I am curious about one thing. Do you think after back-to-back Ws, do you think more players from Echo or Method are wanting to join Liquid? I don't know, probably. Like, would they be more or less likely to want to join us after winning or losing? I guess after winning, you have a higher chance of winning. We also make more money than both of those guilds. But I don't think that's a big differentiator for players. It's not by a lot, and I don't think it, like, is a decision-making thing. You have to change region for some people. That's a hard non-starter for people if they care about their account. Sheesh, how do you know that? I mean, bro, have you ever, like, worked at an office before? You know how much people are making. Unless management is trying to suppress talking about wages, you guys should talk about wages. That's just people trying to have power over you. Max, what's life after WoW look like for you? I've thought about this a lot recently. I have only recently been sure of what it is, because one thing I figured out when I started streaming, and especially when I started running the guild, is that I know I have to be my own boss. I will never... I just can't work for someone else. I don't know what that says about me, by the way. Not like out of a respect thing. I just need... The only thing that's interesting enough to me is when it's all on the line because I'm putting it up and there's some stakes. Or at least that would be the goal. If I had to work to that goal, obviously that would be fine. But I think if I ever stopped doing all this shit... Well, first of all, I think I would always stream. Because I could always do... Bro, my streams are so easy right now. I just turn on my stream and, like, yap for 2 hours. And I enjoy it. I love that. I wouldn't want to stop. I genuinely look forward to that. I look forward to this today. Right? In a way where, like, people are like, why didn't you take a day off streaming after the race? Because I haven't felt like I've streamed for the last 2 weeks. You guys have just been watching me do something. I'm not talking to people. So I'd start my own business. I would just take all my money that I've made and just dump it all into a business that I think would be really cool, and more importantly, that I really, really care about. And I'm positive I would succeed at it. I would try so fucking hard. And then if it didn't work out, I'll just blow up. All good. Why not? The funny thing is I don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure whenever I want to do that, I'll know what it is. I'm passionate about a lot of different things, but unfortunately, maybe the story of my life has been just being like hyper addicted to something, ADHD style, and then going so crazy at it, getting really good at it, usually succeeding at it, and then getting bored and moving on to something else. So I don't know how that would work with starting my own business, because I'd have to like figure out exactly what I'd want it to be. But I don't know if I'd be into it forever. I might feel like I've gotten mostly as good as I can be at something, and instead of the thing that most people do, which I admire, is like become a master at that thing and just do it forever. And instead of being 98% as good as you can be at it, try to get to 99 or 100. I would just so much rather get to 98% at something else. Sell the business, start a new one. That sounds fun. Just sell it when I get bored, do something else. The good thing now is from the streaming thing, I'd have like a good bit of money to own whatever I do rather than have to get any funding. Well, I guess depending on the size of what I'm trying to do. If I tried to scale a business, I don't have stacks like that. But like something small, I think I could do. Max, aren't you like 100%ing being good at WoW? Nah. There's always ways to get better. There's plenty of things I can get better at, raid leading and stuff like that. That'll never end. That'll never not be true. There's like that's like maybe why I've had more fun doing this for a really long time, is that I've never felt like I'm as good as I can be. There's like this job, like the outside the raid thing, you kind of can have like infinite impact. And I don't even think I've explored like how far that can go. Like every tier there's something new. But maybe at some point that stops, you know? Max, were you annoyed by THD crashing your hot seat interview? Nah, definitely not. Max, is there a raid leader, past or present, that you look up to? Yeah, Kuznam, Sejta, or Seta from Paragon. I don't remember his name. Rignoros when I was younger. Those three. Which that might surprise you, because like me and Rig's style is like totally opposite, right? Like you could it's possible that the way that I raid lead is like the antithesis of Rignoros, but I still respected it, bro. People can have different styles. There's maybe not one thing that's better than the other. The cool thing about outside raid leader is you are also leading people. There's infinite growth and room for improvement when it comes to leadership, so never perfect. Oh my god, that's so true. Like, bro, the hardest thing for me is like, whenever I get bored, I can get frustrated. Like, so here's the point that's the hardest part in the race for me. When we have figured out a boss completely, and now we're just waiting on executing to kill it, I always get super pissy. Because literally, like on some child shit, I'm just bored. And I'm ready to move on to the next thing. I'm not stimulated, so I just throw a fit. And I try so fucking hard to fake it. I try so hard to be locked in on every pull and trying to keep the morale up and the vibes up. But I can't fake how I feel, and my guild knows me so well that like, if I'm like some people are like, just internalize it. Bro, if I'm internalizing this feeling and I'm just not speaking in between pulls, they know what's up. They know me so well that like they can literally feel everything I'm feeling. And if I'm feeling annoyed, and that shouldn't affect them because like it's an execution boss and I'm only annoyed because I'm bored, they will play worse because they know the vibes are worse because I feel that way. And I'm trying, and I know I have that impact on them, and I try so fucking hard because I feel so bad because it's all like, there's so much pressure in that, you know? It's pretty easy to just be like, well, just don't feel that way, never get that way. But it's so hard, man. For this long, this many hours a day, this many people watching you, it's so fucking hard. And that's the hardest part of my job. It'd be so easy if like I could get upset, or I could get bored, or I could have an off hour or something, just attitude wise, and it wouldn't affect them. That would be so nice. But the fact that the slightest dip in my tone of voice can shift in the like success chance of an entire attempt is like, it's insane, man. You do a great job staying positive. I think most of the time, but there's some times where I can't. God, I hate it. I wish I could just be perfect, you know? Who doesn't, I guess? Hashtag stay positive, yeah. What's the best and worst part of a tier? Winning for sure is the best. Actually, you know what, man? It's not even winning. Like, okay, well, it's winning, but it's like killing a really hard boss. And it can sometimes happen multiple times a tier. Last tier was 4 times. That was crazy. Like, that moment is unlike anything else. It's really cool. And the worst part of a raid is like, worst part of a race is doing splits. It's not close. Okay, well, losing the race to world first is worse, because like, not only did you like fail at your goal, did you feel like you let everyone down that you care about, but then on top of all of that, the dumbest people you know are just spamming your chat, calling you and your friends stupid and bad. And it sucks. Max Scripe was saying after he lost that they are going to try to go to US servers for next race. They've been saying that every single raid. They say that every time they lose. They never do it because they know it doesn't change fucking anything. Max, do you have any idea how to remove splits? Nah. What? I mean, no, without like affecting a lot of people in the game. The only thing that I've heard that kind of makes sense is they like lock how many times you can run a raid in 1 week on the same class. But then you could just get a new account. And then we'd have 15 characters, 15 accounts. Anything involving Tournament Realms is just immediately missing the point. But yeah, crazy. How tilted were you during power outages? I went through a full stage of acceptance. The power first goes out. I'm like, yo guys, let's go hit some stretches outside. Everyone's like, yeah, power will come back on soon. We go inside. Power's still not back on. All right, cool. Yo, there's a ping pong table. Let's fucking hit this shit. Got absolutely rinsed in ping pong by Atlas. I don't ever play ping pong. I'm really good at tennis. I taught tennis in college, but I just don't know how to play ping pong. Turns out Atlas is sick at ping pong, got shit on. So then I stopped playing ping pong out of shame. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe this will be out for like an hour or two. That's fine. We can just take lunch during this time. It won't be that bad. I drive home to go get my kettlebell so I can do some hamstring stuff. Get back, do some hamstring stuff. I sit down. I start going on my phone. And I'm like, these might not come up for a while. Then on the Santa Monica Power website, they finally posted our issue. A lot of people saw a misquoted one. Some people were posting like people who thought it was a planned power outage. Someone posted a planned power outage somewhere in Santa Monica, and it affected 3 homes, and they just thought that had something to do with us, completely irrelevant, had nothing to do with us. They eventually posted it, and it was like worst possible scenario. It was like, here's the power outage, here's who it's affecting, and the cause is unknown. Talked to some people who understand power around the facility who've dealt with this before, and they're like, yeah, this could take 3 to 4 hours or like an entire day. I'm like, oh shit. So apparently, I found this out today, Liquid was looking into like getting a facility for us to move our rental PCs over there and find a way for like 16 players to go play, which isn't even everyone. That's like missing 10 people. And then, okay, so all of this happens. I'm starting to go through the final stages of like accepting something where I'm like, I'm at peace with it, but then I start to get tilted. I'm like, bro, there's no fucking way this is happening to us. And then like right when I have that thought, I like put my head back. I'm like, bro, boom, the lights come on. Jesus is our king. And then that shit comes on. I go back to my desk, and it took like another 15, 20 minutes for the internet to come back, but then we were ready to go. Max says, Liquid considering backup generators now. No. I saw some people in chat answering that, and they might be right that you can do that. Maybe I'm naive, but I'm pretty sure getting emergency power backup to last for 12 hour, like a full raid day for like probably 50 different computers, an entire production setup, an entire facility. It's either going to be impossible, which is unlikely, or astronomically expensive. And it's just not feasible. And they would basically only be doing that for the race, which only exists here every, like twice a year. And it's not like the main thing Team Liquid does. I mean, bro, I'll keep it a buck. If we were the league team, I bet we'd have it. Like, dude, Team Liquid would definitely kill all of us if it helped the league team. Like, 100%. That's okay, though. That's what it is. We would get turned into juice. Max, commercially, how big is the WoW Team Liquid versus the entire Team Liquid esports? Bro, we're a fucking tiny ant. Although I do believe we are one of the only things in esports that's profitable without, like, extremely sketchy money sources. I.e., like Saudi money and stuff. We are profitable for Team Liquid. W, worth something. Max, was Bubba ever a raider? Yeah, he was born in spreadsheets, bro. Nah, he was a raider. He raided in BDG. He never raided here. He did play pro LCS though, back in the day. What was his league name? Bubbadubs. He was a great coach. Yo, I believe that. I think Bubba would be a fantastic coach. 100%. He'd be sweet. Max, do you ever think about going into any other other games Race to World first seriously? Well, like other MMOs? No. We'd get fucking shit on. It'd be so disrespectful to even think that you have a possibility of going into someone else's extremely niche and specific MMO and think that you could like spend way less time than they have and be better than them. There's no fucking way. These games are all so hyper specific with like specific skill sets. They're all really hard and have like super specific knowledge. And there's just no way you'd be able to compete. Because the only reason we're this good at this is because we fucking love this shit. You can't fake that. We don't love those games. You can't beat someone that loves something. You know what I mean? Doesn't Echo do it for Final Fantasy? No, they bought like a world first team that already raids in that game. They're not doing it themselves. They would have no chance. My dad beat me, but he loved me. Dude, so true. W, well, not W. L, that's not W. But I know you're kidding. I know you're fucking I know, well, maybe you're not making that up. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying, you're just a Twitch chatter saying something, but maybe it's real. I don't want to say it's not real. I'm gaslighting. Oh my God. Yo, throw that M upside down and it's a W though. Not the child abuse, but just in general. GG Max, was nice having you. You're canceled now, bro. Take me out. That's fine. That's all good. I'll just leave. Max, do you think Blizzard intended for the entire raid to be easy, but just mistuned Styx and Muggsy? No, I just think they were comically lost in tuning in multiple directions. Styx and Sprocket were probably way harder than they wanted them to be. And then they panicked and just nerfed the last stuff as a result to that, creating like a lopsided weird difficulty curve. It's just, bro, no heroic week, No heroic hashtag no heroic week. That's what happened this tier. They were just behind on the information they had, and it showed. Max, would you recruit from an OCE guild? Oh yeah, for sure, man. Oh yeah. If there's some gamer, I don't care where you come from, as long as you can speak English, and you're a gamer, you can come from wherever because we can just fly you here for the race. I mean, actually, we've raided with people for multiple years who barely spoke English. It was fine. Fuck it. You could do it, bro. You could be a dolphin. If you were a dolphin, but you just absolutely cranked at Fire Mage or something, that's fine. We can figure that out. Max, aren't Scott and Nick European and Liquid just flies them out? Nick is American, and Scott is not European. He's from the UK. The UK left the EU. That's what he would want me to say. Who do we have in our guild that's European? Disco, I believe, is Swedish. Tobo's from the UK. Rivens, I don't know where Rivens from. Oh, Norway. He's Norwegian. Splat is Danish. Shay's from the UK. KSP's from the UK. Damn, holy, the Commonwealth gang. God damn. Who else we got in here? Suri is German. Zevi, I don't know Zevi's nationality, actually. I mean, he lives in the United States. Exile? Oh, there's a few Canadians. Yeah, Yips is Canadian. Shaq's Canadian. Mark's Canadian. Impec is Swedish. I missed him. THD? Yeah, THD. I don't know where he's from, but it's not from here. Bro's from Florida. He's not from this earth. Max, did you feel splits were optimal this tier? Yeah, did them faster than the other guilds, I think. Max, can you explain your Shrug reaction after winning the Race to World first? I mean, I feel like, I guess I could, but I feel like a Shrug kind of just answers the fucking question, right? That's exactly how I felt. It's a very like I feel like a Shrug just answers it, you know? You're the only one that didn't pop off. I mean, a few people didn't. I mean, it was just anticlimactic, you know? Plus, like, I don't know. So, like, winning is like an awesome feeling. Winning is an awesome feeling, but I already knew he won at the beginning of that day, like 12 hours before that point. So that was being known. And that's why we were so locked in all day. But it was just like the way it died was so crazy. But we had 2 people dead for so long. I would have probably popped off if we had like a good pull with everyone alive. But like the fact that it was such a shitty pull, like in your mind, you're already like, this is a wipe. You know what I mean? Yo, my headset's happy though. Max, everyone wanted an exciting secret phase, not just a secret encounter overall. Why? Yo, I think Gallywix being easier is a reason to be upset. And the fact you didn't get your super tight race you wanted is a reason to be like upset. But the entire fight being a secret phase is just 10 times fucking cooler than every single like super like dude, the P2 intermission on Gallywix is as cool as every secret phase they've made. Just straight up. It was like you have no way to know it's there. It's like a cool design. The only reason you don't like it is because it's easy. You want to know what's also true about every other secret phase? They were fucking easy too. Gul'dan, Jailer, those phases were not hard. You did them in less than 5 times of seeing it. You know? They're not like, I think your nostalgia might be blinding you, bro. That shit was easy as hell. Like, okay, like, I mean, Illidan came out. That's just cool lore shit, right? But like, Gallywix, that's not going to happen. There's going to be a bunch of beams and circles and shit. And that's what happened, you know? I guess they could have made like Lich King pop out of the robot or something, get you all hyped up, get on that old shit, but like this, I feel like the way they did the secret phase is how they should do every secret phase from now on, which is basically the whole fight is a secret phase. We had no idea what was happening the whole fight, and the fight is really cool. It's just not punishing enough, right? I don't know. I mean, obviously, this is my opinion, you know, like you as a viewer. But I feel like you would have a different opinion. Bro, if we were fighting Gallywix and it was hard, and the fight was exactly tuned the same way, and it was live streamed when we first got to, like, these parts of the fight that we've never seen before, it would be fucking hype as fuck. Because it would be the whole fight would be figuring out shit you've never seen before. That's, like, kind of objectively as cool as other secret phases if you throw out the nostalgia factor of, like, Illidan being involved. Because other secret phases were not, like, this crazy shit. It was easy. They were all easy. But our criticism isn't taking away from your Race World first win. Well, I'm not implying it is. It's just we have no faith Blizzard can tune untested bosses well. Every end boss for the last 4 years has been untested. It is no different. Relax, bro. You're freaking out. It's such a good bit. Fucking calm down. Please. Max, do you think Blizzard will ever release another Mythic-only end boss like Raden or Sinestra? Nah. Doesn't really make sense, right? A larger percentage of the population does heroic than mythic. So why would you create a boss just for a smaller percentage of the game to ever interact with it? Doesn't really make sense. I mean, wouldn't you just rather continue make it on heroic as well so more people can interact with the thing that you've made? Because it's sick? I mean, was Raden and Sinestra really sick, though? Like, Raden, deeply flawed boss, Throne of Thunder version. I mean, I guess Sinestra was kind of cool because it was the first time they did it. But, like, sometimes the first time you do something, it's really cool, and then people get over it. Like, bro, the first time they did Season 4, it had such an extremely high approval rating, right? They, like, tried all this different shit. We got an extra Mythic Plus season instead of a super long last farm period. It was like, at the time, people were like, yo, goated. Also, the knowledge that it was created by, like, 3 people, like, basically 3 people at Blizzard were not tasked to do this thing. They did it for fun, and then Blizzard went and ran with it, and they, like, basically gave us content with such little effort while still getting the expansion out. Like, that was goated. And then they did Season 4 a second time, and it was the exact same thing, and people hated it because they just didn't want it again. You know? I feel like Sinestra is kind of like that. What was your favorite in-game or out-of-game moment this race? In-game? I don't know. I mean, winning was so weird. I don't know. I don't know about in-game. Honestly, okay, in-game, the best part of this tier was just our entire progression day on Gallywix. That was the most fun I've had in a long time. Even though the kill wasn't epic. It was just like, if some higher being could just create the most stimulating and entertaining thing for me to possibly do, it is progressing a mythic end boss that we know nothing about. It was just so fucking fun. But out of game, honestly, last night, there was just like 15 people in this room last night, completely packed until like 6 a.m. just doing whatever, just talking and hanging out and drinking, and it was great. Naked, yeah, all completely naked. Max, do you think you would ever do a documentary or something on the planning and strat process looks like, or would you not want to sort of give Echo or Blizzard any ideas? No, I don't care about anything like that. I just wouldn't create that content because I just don't really care about that. Like, I think that could be good content and someone in Liquid might want to do it, and then they're like, you guys are doing this, and I'm like, okay, and then they'll do it against my will. And it's not because I want to give anything away, I just don't care. I wish the race was more competitive than it is. What do you mean the race was competitive, right? Didn't people think, like, people were saying Echo was massively in the lead after week 1, and then they ended up losing. How is that not competitive? Max, do you think a better way to do the race is to drop the patch at the same time in both NA and EU and China as well? No, I think that would be worse. I think it's actually better now that they release them separately. It would not be good for us to all get at the same time for sure. That doesn't make any sense, right? Come on, man. Relax. You're being extreme. Calm down. Max, is there a being in the lead? It's really hard to tell who's in the lead, really, if both teams are playing well until you kind of get to like a regular final boss. I mean, there was definitely a point where Echo was like in the lead, but this means the like likelihood of who wins the race changes. Like the end of week 1 was so fucking irrelevant. But I mean, they did get ahead. Like they ended week 1 with more information on One Arm Bandit. But also, like, when you're saying in the lead, like, people... Okay, in the lead is different than outplayed. I heard someone on Twitter say, like, outplayed. They're like, they outplayed you on this. I'm like, bro, you can't outplay having 8 less rateable hours in your reset than another guild because of things out of your control. Like, that's just simply not what's happening, right? But they literally killed a boss first, which that's just objectively a lead. Did we win? Yeah. Dude, winning's awesome. Winning's a relief. Winning is a relief. Losing sucks so bad, man. It sucks so bad. Winning is just like, thank God we didn't lose. How about don't lose anymore then? I mean, yeah, maybe you put it like that. Max, does losing suck more than winning feels good? Oh my God. Yes, and it's by an indescribable amount. At least in the race. I don't know if I would feel this way if the race wasn't streamed and it was all off stream, and you play your best and someone beats you, you'd just be like, damn, GG's, I got outplayed. You can live with that. You feel like you didn't beat yourself. Someone just played better than you. You can bro, that's some human shit. You can tank that. That's fine. But bro, losing in the race, and then just for me, I don't know why this specifically bothers me, but just seeing the most uninformed, dumbest people make the worst arguments and just slander your players, and they would never be as good as the people they're slandering, but they're on some tribalism shit, just saying the craziest shit and then you just have to see it. Oh man, that just makes it so much worse. Max, if would losing by 3 to 6 hours be the worst feeling ever? I mean, we've lost by that amount before. It depends, bro. If you lose, honestly, and someone is just better than you, it's pretty easy to live with that, really. Like, if you felt like you did your best, you didn't beat yourself, and someone just beat you, like, you're just, like, what do you fucking go next? You know, like, you don't even, there's nothing to, like, you obviously improve to get better, but, like, there's nothing, it's pretty easy to live with that, really. I've had that feeling before. So it kind of depends on how it happens, really. Like, if you lose by 3 to 6 hours and your power went out for 6 hours, yeah, you'd feel like shit. If you lost because a boss was nerfed in one shot when you were asleep, it would feel really bad. If you initially felt like it was a super close race and you just barely lost like a Mirdrasil, you're like, damn, like we could have probably played better, but they just won. And then you find out later that's not quite exactly what happened. Then it feels very, very bad, but only much, much later on. Losing can feel all kinds of different ways, man. But really the worst that losing ever feels is when you feel like you beat yourself. I don't know if I've ever actually felt that way about a raid we've ended, but I felt that way on bosses before. Like, usually when I'm the most upset about a performance on a boss, I feel like we got in our own way. And that's hard to live with, because that's avoidable. Max, the way you are sitting in the chair is one of a man that has completed his mission. Wait, it kind of is. Max, what has been your favorite win? I don't know. This comment is so good, dude. This comment is so good. That takes care of that, in quotes, head ass. With the fucking crossed arms. Holy shit, what a comment. Okay, I mean, I think, like, they all feel better for different reasons. Like, Nyalotha is the first time you're winning. Like, you lose to this guild 3 times in a row after you just start doing this thing. They have, like, their streamers publicly are just saying you're dog shit on stream every day. Their fan bases are the most insufferable people ever. They're convinced and say every day in your stream chat for years that you can't win. And then you finally, you win, but not only win, but you fucking beat the shit out of them too. You know? That hit. That hit for sure. And then in Nathria felt really good because number one, it was a really cool raid. But also it was like winning back-to-back was good, you know? Because like in Nyalotha, people like coped their way into saying we won because of the 21st man, which I just thought was like really disrespectful to our players. And then also after we won in Nyalotha, Method released a YouTube video that was called "Can You Buy World First?" ? Which was like in the title at least heavily implying that like we just bought World First. So we took that real bad. So beating them again after that felt really good. Sarkareth felt really good because we just hadn't won in a while. I think we lost like 3 straight races before that. So that was like, all right, we still got it. And then honestly, Nerebar Palace could have been the best feeling. Because like Nerebar was, we lost in Amir Drasil, and shortly before Nerebar Palace came out, we learned of some more information about the Amir Drasil race. So, and we did not like that. And so like winning that raid felt very gratifying. And especially because they just made like probably the hardest boss ever or the second hardest boss ever. And like there was always this narrative, I guess, that I found really annoying that I felt had basically no merit, which was that anytime bosses were hard enough, Echo was just going to win. And I just didn't think that was true. There's plenty of examples of that not being true. I mean, there's examples of that, of them beating us on hard bosses, but that's just not like binary yes or no thing. We beat them on hard bosses too, right? Like we were better than them on Halandras. We were better than them on Anduin. We were better than them on multiple hard bosses that in races that we lost, right? And then they made one of the hardest bosses ever, and it was one of the biggest gaps in the race ever, right? Kind of putting that entire narrative to bed. And that was really nice. I like that a lot. This race just kind of just felt like last race, I guess. Like this, I guess like going into last race and going into this race, I was just so sure we were going to win. I just knew that if we didn't absolutely throw, we were going to win. And I don't think we threw in the entire race. We even had a lot of things not go our way. Really, like a lot of shit not go our way, and we still did it. Max, what do you think of the $1 million bounty for the China Race World First? It's not 1 mil. It's like the equivalent. I mean, it's a lot of money. It's the equivalent of like $130,000, I think. And then it like increases by like maybe $30,000 each tier until a Chinese guild wins the Race to World First. Yeah, if you guys have been out of the loop, they announced that like when they brought WoW servers back to like give some incentive, I guess, for Chinese teams to compete. Totally makes sense. It gives Chinese WoW a lot of value because that would bring a lot of hype and attention to. I mean, look at how much viewership exists right now for if you can compete. They just makes sense. They want a piece of that. But I don't understand what you mean in my opinion on it, bro. I wish Blizzard would pay us. I mean, that's not Blizzard putting out that money, but I wish Blizzard, bro, having a prize pool for the race would be sweet, man. I love free money. Give me that extra money, baby. Money's on sale. Exactly. Max, it felt like viewership was down this tier. I remember seeing your stream was down like 50K or 50K at some points previous tiers. I think going dark hurts it a lot. I think splits hurt it a lot. But also, to be honest with you, I have no idea what the viewership was. I'd never look at it. But I have also heard other people say that. That's why I'm commenting that. I mean, I know splits kills viewership. Like last year we had a heroic week, so viewership was good again, and this year they brought it back, which kills viewership, which is crazy because they're trying to advertise it while actively killing the viewership for it. But yeah, it also depends on when you're going live. Like I think something that hypes people up a lot is seeing guilds go to a new boss, but what's kind of normal now is like when you go to a new boss, you turn your stream off, which there's a bunch of logic to doing that. I've done it before and I'll do it again, but it also isn't great for viewership. But yeah, splits turbo killed it. But also depends on the time of year. Like some times a year it's like better than others. COVID super boosted it. Max, how do you feel going into the next tier? I guess the same way I feel right now. I feel pretty great. Feel nice. It's a Sunday. Max, if we had a Liquid versus Echo game of CS, who do you think would win? Ooh, I'm not sure. We have a couple of very, very, very good CS players in the guild. I'm gonna guess Echo though. Just because Counter-Strike and PC gaming competitively is very cultural in EU, and like Counter-Strike is like religious when you grow up in EU, bro. Especially Eastern European countries. And in NA, like no one fucking cares. Like you're more likely in NA to like play Call of Duty on your couch with your boys. So I think it's extremely likely that an EU guild would win in CS just because of that. But we have a bunch of people in our guild that are like top ranked in that are Radiant and Valorant, that are global elite or really high rated in whatever that other ranking thing is in CS, Challenger in League. Like most of the time, like when people get to this level in this guild, if they have passions, not things they randomly play one time, but like passions that they like love a fucking game, they are insanely good at it. We've had multiple raiders that are like the literal best PoE players. If you make it to this guild, you are a absolute fucking gamer. Max, did you miss not having a council fight this raid? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Have they made a good council fight in a while? I mean, I'm okay with them. Yo, that's a good point. They didn't put a council fight in this raid. Don't they put a council fight in like every raid? Wait, was there one in Nerebar? I mean, Silken Court was not a council boss. Wait, there wasn't one in that raid either. Huh. I mean, they just had like a bunch of raids in a row with shitty council bosses. Like Council of Dreams, bad. Primal Council, bad. Forgotten Experiments was like okay, kind of a different take on it. Prototype Pantheon wasn't great. There was like basically Prototype Pantheon V2 in some other raid. Yeah, I don't know. Council Blood was good. Bro, Council Blood is so polarizing. I think Council Blood was great, but a lot of people hate that boss. I mean, Council Blood is definitely better than every boss I just mentioned. Max, why do you feel like your players are able to do more damage with the same eye level as like a standard player? I mean, they're just better, right? I mean, they're just better at it. Max, did you like the mid-raid difficulty? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like Styx was, like we like to fight hard bosses. Harder the boss, the better chance we have to win. Love that. And we kind of do this, we prepare all year to do hard raid fights. So love seeing that. But I don't think it was good for the game. Like Styx being that hard is not good for the game. Honestly, Sprocket being that hard is probably not good for the game. But yeah, I mean the difficulty curve this tier was weird. Definitely was a generally easier raid. Like mid-tier easier. Definitely some harder bosses. I mean, there was what, 3 bosses over 100 pulls? That's like pretty standard. That's like extremely standard actually. That like Castle Nathria had 2 bosses over 100 pulls. Like outside of Sepulchre, most raids only have like 2 fights that are over 100. This raid had 3. Although there was no like giga huge pull bosses. Technically 4. Oh yeah, true. Would you prefer races have 1 to 2 bosses that are 250 to 300 pulls? I mean, if they're good, yeah. Do you feel like you're getting too good for the designers to make tricky fights? No. Someone in YouTube chat says, ideal pull count curve for viewers is 1, 1, 5, 10, 25, 40, 60, 90, 150, and then 225 in a 10 boss raid. Perfect curve, and just over 700 pulls in total. Bro, what are you fucking talking about? You run the math? Like, how did you made all of that up. Like, what you just said hasn't even happened before, so there's not even, like, something to compare that to. You just, like, said it. Nah, he did the math. What? I mean, so true, though. I do agree with a 10 boss raid, though. I very strongly believe that 8 bosses, like, okay, so outside of Gallywix, normally there's an end boss level difficulty that you expect, right? And then there's a first boss difficulty you expect, which means you have to go from first boss to end boss in 8 bosses. That's so hard. And there actually has not been any evidence that that's doable without something being really fucked. It's just too big of a jump from boss to boss, really. At some point, there's going to be a jump happens that doesn't make sense. So I do agree with the 10 bosses. I think that is necessary. Because 10 bosses doesn't mean you're getting 2 more Nexus Princess Kaivezas. In fact, there's just as many Kaivezas and Sludge Fists and Silken Courts and Anserex and Mugsies in a tier, whether there's 8 bosses or 13. The thing that changes when you add bosses is you get more mid-tier, kind of hard, maybe kind of cool fights that bridge the difference between those things, which I think are good for the game. It doesn't add a ton of time to your progression because you're not adding really hard bosses that take a long time. If Blizzard makes one more rapid difficulty increase mid-tier raid wall that requires a PhD in weak auras, I'm going to drop a nuclear bomb. Yeah. Oh, so what bosses this tier really require weak auras? So obviously not Styx. Styx requires 0 auras. Rick Reverb, you can completely fucking YOLO the soaking on that. First 2 bosses, I think you don't need any. First boss, you don't need any. So good. Okay, so Sprocket Monger's a problem. Natty calming the Sprocket Monger soaks. It just simply requires a weak aura. No question, you could not do the fight without it, or it would take you so long that it wouldn't be worth just not using it. Like honestly, I think Sprocket Monger is borderline Brood Twister tier of needing a weak aura. But I don't think it doesn't feel like you're progressing the weak aura, just purely like, would this fight have been made without them? Like, it's not an annoying weak aura. It exists, and it kind of needs to happen to make the fight work correctly. Brood Twister was much more annoying, because you were literally just wiping to people following the weak aura, which is, like, really frustrating. One-Armed Bandit, you don't need any weak auras, so that's all pretty visual. I think they did a good job with that. Mugsy? I would argue you do, so... Yeah, you do. Because, like, to be consistent, because, like, when you place the jails, which, by the way, they spelled jails the old English way, where it's Gaols, and we just missed a fantastic opportunity to call it Gowls for the whole raid, and that would have been just an insanely good bit. So, yeah, but whenever they assign the Gowls, you... get assigned, like, you have a certain amount of porters in each thing. That doesn't need to be assigned via weak aura, but what happens when you have Trill and THD going into a jail, but they both get picked? Well, you need to assign a backup, don't you? Maybe you can call that. Probably could. It's not super complicated. I would say you probably need a weak aura for that, but it's not like an annoying weak aura, you know? There's a difference. You know what I mean? Like, needing weak auras for a fight, which is somewhat common. Actually, it's not that common, but, like, weak auras being the main point of progression. Like, here's what I'm saying. Brood Twister and Echo of Neltharion are unbelievably frustrating weak aura bosses. But there are other bosses that require weak auras where at the end of the boss, you're not thinking about weak auras at all. They were there and they were fine, but it didn't define the fight. I think those two things are separate. Max, don't you think it's cheating playing as 21 man in raids designed for 20 players? Do you think Blizzard should tune the fights for 21 players instead? I mean, you're kind of cooking. Low-key, it might be cheating. It is OP as fuck. It's so OP. Yeah, out here cheating. So many good questions. Why pick out the troll ones? Sometimes I just want to feel alive, man. Also, I'm going to do whatever I want. Max, please raid lead a few pulls from Shakib's POV. Now that I couldn't actually do. It's so funny. Actually, I was talking about this with Dazer the other day. Okay, so we've played with Shaq and Avade. In the guild, actually, a lot of times they've played together. We've played double DH tiers. And we've played with each one of them separate as well. They're both, like, as good as you can possibly be as a WoW player. They're unbelievably fucking cracked. But they're so different, even as Demon Hunter players. Like, Avade is so logical and calculated, and he's just he's so smart. And you can tell that in the way he's moving, and every decision looks calculated. And Shaq is as chaotic as his personality. He just does extremely greedy, crazy fucking movements, just permanently, like as if there's no logic to it whatsoever. And watching that would be extremely stressful. But he never dies. Like, he just thrives in chaos. All right. boys and girls. Statistically, way less women in here than men, but I know you're there. I've seen the YouTube stats. Shout out women. But yeah, I'll be back another day. But I'm gonna go. We're having a little party at the facility. Probably gonna drink a little bit, eat some Heidi food, and so whenever I'm here, make sure to pull up, or else. I'm just gonna leave you at that. Fucking or else. Make sure you're here.